Good afternoon, Ozzy. How are you today, man? See if you notice anything different in the background today. Salud, my friend. Salud. It's gonna be the show of Ozzy and Dennis Herrera today. That's it. Hmm. I'm actually gonna be playing the hearing today. I just watched it earlier. I'm gonna be off camera though for a bit. I gotta do some stuff, but I'm gonna let the live go through and I'll be able to text. But I do have to do other stuff while the video is playing. So hang tight, and I will come back on video later after I start the video. We the people. That's right. Actually, in this video, I believe that they're going to mention that. They are going to mention that. And you know what gets to me, Ozzy? It's that it doesn't matter how much uh, transparency, it doesn't matter how much information, it doesn't matter how many videos are debunked of fake violence, of fake victims, with ICE. I understand some people, have that power trip. I get it. I get it. But what people don't understand is this. I'm not going to excuse anybody. I'm not going to excuse any person for slamming somebody on the ground for no reason, okay? But I will make this clear. If federal agents are working, it's none of your business who they're coming after. It is up to the justice system to to worry about that. All these self-righteous citizens that they think that they have the right to obstruct, to question federal agents. I'm sorry, but that's not the way it works. We voted for this to happen. We're not going to stand in the way. We're going to allow them to do their job. And that's what we're supposed to do, right? So that's exactly what we need to do. And this immigration hearing, it's actually pretty good, I think. I think it's pretty good. There is a couple of Democrats in here, but I guess most of them are not here for the hearing, which is nice because you don't get to hear all this negative fakeness from the Democrats. Welcome to MAGA Country. This is MAGA Chat Live. If you guys are in here, it's because you care about what we're showing. If you come in here and you want to put a comment, drop it down in the chat. That's all good. We don't want negativity against our people. You know what, Ozzy? I find there's not everybody, but I find a couple of people that either they come here to just troll or whatever, but they leave comments in some of my shorts and some of my videos, and I mean maybe these guys are illegal, maybe they are criminals. Hey, Scott, how are you, brother? Good to see you again. I don't know if they're just people that are in bed with cartels, with drug dealers, criminals, etc. This hearing is very good. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you pay attention on this one. Lynn says, just stay out of the way of the ICE agents. Very simple. Paper Friend says, you don't want the truth. You wouldn't know the truth if it hit you in the face. You know, I always say this. Listen, uh, mothers that are desperate do not care about their children. Let me say that again. Desperate mothers do not care about their children. How do I know this? There was a big fat guy faking a seizure during an ICE arrest of his wife. There was a child in there. They were trying to pull her out of the car, and she kept jumping on top of her husband with the child in between them. Desperate women don't care. Who knows if that was actually her child? We don't know anything else besides that. Then you have this Mexican woman in a courthouse, and her husband's being arrested, which, he seems to be okay according to the video, right? But the wife is throwing a tantrum and is throwing a fit. And unfortunately, by the time that the ICE agent reacted to her madness, she wasn't grabbing him. She wasn't, pulling on her husband or anything. And he grabbed her and slammed her on the ground. Now, what I find interesting on some of these videos that I've been watching, I don't know if that video is on here, on this testimony, but, for these Democrats that say, we believe trans women are women. What? You believe men are women? You believe it's okay for women to be in men to be in the women's locker room? You believe it's okay for men to compete against women and beat them badly because they're considered women to you? But yet, when an ICE agent throws a woman to the ground that is causing problems, obstructing justice, now you said, oh my God, he pushed a woman to the floor and the guy got suspended. I thought you believed men and women are the same thing. Men and women's gender, sexuality, sex is interchangeable. So why do you complain about a man throwing down a woman on the ground if you don't care about men competing in women's sports like boxing, swimming, basketball, soccer, you name it? Men are beating women all the time, and that's only because of Democrat leftist crazy people. You are responsible for all that. So when that happens in life, keep your mouth shut, because this is what you've been asking for. We believe in equality. We're all equal. That's what you say. That's what you say, and that's exactly what we're going to let you have. Manuel Correa, I'm going to tell you one time, if you ever leave a comment on my videos calling me racist or telling me that I want to be a white man, just don't come back to my channel. You have no respect for me, and I got no respect for you. One warning. If you don't like my channel, get the hell off my channel, please. But don't come over here pretending like you want to have a neutral input. I seen the comments you leave on my videos, and I don't appreciate that. Some people left me threatening message. They're being reported to the FBI. Just like you guys want to report my channel for sharing news and hearings and things like this, you guys don't understand. This is all shareable information that we can use. In case you were wondering. Anybody can grab my video and go mix it up and do whatever the hell they want. There's no copyright for that. So I'm just giving you one warning. With that being said, I'm going to go off camera. Ozzy, you are in charge of moderating here. I will still be on the chat. I love you too, Scott. Appreciate you, brother. I appreciate it. That's right, because of your comment. That's why, because of your comment. Stop defending illegal immigrants and criminals, bro. That's all I'm asking you, okay? So knock that shit off, please. With that being said, if you don't want to be my friend, don't be my friend. But you're not going to come in here and insult me and anything like that, okay? Okay, I appreciate that. Greg Bain, USA. Welcome to MAGA country. Mr. Official, se acabó. Se acabó. Welcome to the chat, brother. All right, you guys be good. All right, Manuel, just behave, man. Just behave. That's just the one that you get today. If we can be friends, that's great. But if not, that's all right. We can always ban you if need to. Saltwater, I'm glad you guys came here before I go off camera. Ken, welcome to the chat. Do me a favor. I love you too, Salt. Appreciate you, brother. Do me a favor, mods. Anything in here, while the video is going, just go ahead and get rid of the chat if it's not positive, if it's not supporting. Anything that is non-MAGA, get rid of the comment, all right? Hi, Cheryl. How are you? I'm not going to be on camera here for this video, guys, but I will still be with you, okay? I'm just going to be doing some stuff in the background, but I will still be here watching you guys. Think of this live as a premiere for this video. I don't want people talking negative about the video. Just pay attention and listen and make your own assumptions and opinion after it's done, okay? Very simple, Stanley. I wish people understood that concept, but some people, they just don't get it. All men are created equal, says Jacobson. Yes. And the DOI does not include black people. Well, it does now, my friend. I don't know what history and what time frame you are living on, but we are all equal in this country. Everybody, men, women, regardless of your skin pigmentation, it doesn't matter. When I hear America, I see all kinds of great American people of all shapes and sizes and shades of colors and just amazing people. If they love, respect, and honor America and the American citizens. Remember, we the people, it's only those who can vote to put government in place. Remember that. Illegal immigrants do not have that power, so they are not we the people. All right, now that I got it out of the way, you guys go ahead and watch this video.
Groups continue to incite violent protests and impede the enforcement of our immigration laws. We will examine how groups, primarily on the left, and even elected officials at the federal, state, and local level continue to vilify immigration enforcement officials who are simply carrying out their duties required under the law. We'll discuss how the mainstream media gaslights the public about the true scope of criminal alien activity in the United States. But first, let me take a moment to remind everyone how we got to this point. President Biden invited millions of unvetted illegal aliens into the United States. These included hundreds of thousands of criminal aliens, violent gang members, and even individuals on the terror watch list. And where did these aliens go? They went to neighborhoods in major cities across the United States. These criminal aliens took up residence in states, counties, and cities that call themselves sanctuary cities, like Los Angeles, Portland, and Chicago. Sadly, many of these communities have suffered for decades under the weight of failed policing mandates. The influx of millions of illegal aliens exacerbated the failure of these policies, resulting in skyrocketing crime. Local residents have begged their elected leaders to reverse course and to address rising crime, but to no avail. To add insult to injury, imagine their surprise when they learned that these Biden-era illegal aliens were prioritized for all types of public services, including housing, schooling, and medical care funded by their tax dollars. In some cities, police departments were hamstrung by budget cuts in order to prioritize spending on illegal immigrants. Thankfully, President Trump has listened to these concerns and fulfilled one of his most important campaign promises: to secure the border and remove illegal aliens from the United States. Aggressive immigration enforcement is not unprecedented, nor is it a particularly partisan issue. The reality is that President Obama, who was once praised for unifying the country, deported more than 2.5 million illegal aliens, earning him the title, the deporter-in-chief, at some point. But ever since President Trump was sworn into office and began prioritizing immigration enforcement, assaults and attacks on immigration agents and officers have skyrocketed. These immigration officers are law enforcement officers that are doing what their country has asked them to do, which is to enforce our laws, just like every other law enforcement officer. They carry out their sworn duties to uphold the law and arrest those who violated our laws. And make no mistake, we're talking about the arrests of criminal aliens who have committed some of the most heinous crimes: murder, rape, sexual abuse and molestation of children, aggravated robbery and assault, kidnapping, human smuggling, theft, and even acts of terrorism. But you don't have to take my word for it. DHS has published dozens of press releases highlighting the criminal aliens whom ICE and CBP have apprehended. These criminal aliens were hiding in the United States, some for years, and were allowed to continue terrorizing American communities. DHS has reported that currently more than 415,000 illegal aliens in the United States already have criminal convictions. 415,000. Of that number, nearly 400,000 aren't even detained. They're still out there somewhere in our neighborhoods wreaking havoc. There is, unfortunately, a lot of misinformation spread among the American public by the news media and the social media, especially regarding the current laws that authorize our immigration enforcement officers and what they are allowed to do and what they're required to do, and why they have to go into these communities to arrest illegal aliens, especially in so-called sanctuary cities. Immigration enforcement officers are well trained, and many with years of experience. The only reason that ICE and CBP must go out in our streets and seek out and arrest criminal aliens is because sanctuary cities simply refuse to cooperate with law enforcement and allow them to be transferred directly from jail if detained. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, there are currently 12 sanctuary states and more than 200 sanctuary cities and counties across the United States. Many of them have passed laws that prevent their police department from cooperating with immigration enforcement or sharing information about detained or incarcerated aliens or honoring DHS detainers. Consequently, criminal aliens are often released back into their communities, inevitably to reoffend rather than being detained before being placed into custody. This practice is not only defies common sense, but it makes the role of immigration enforcement officers much more difficult and, in the end, more painful for these communities. The mainstream media, unfortunately, has shown no willingness to educate the public. Instead of reporting these realities truthfully, mainstream media outlets like CNN, MSNBC, and ABC have ignored the real harm that these criminal aliens have caused in these communities and instead directed their ire toward law enforcement. I want to be sure, however, to praise those reporters who do their job honestly, who've called out false statements when they see them on social media or otherwise. That is also an important function of the media, and it does not go unnoticed. Here's one example where Bill Malugin of Fox News points out a social media post depicting an infant with handcuffs on as false, which is, of course, comes from TikTok. TikTok is owned by the Chinese government in part and operates under the rules set by the Chinese Communist Party and is famous for their propaganda and disinformation efforts. But here's an example of how TikTok is sowing dissension among Americans by suggesting somehow that U.S. law enforcement officials are doing things like detaining an infant, and it looks like even putting them in handcuffs, which is obviously a false statement, false depiction. We also know that some of our Democratic colleagues have used incendiary rhetoric to fan the flames of public protests that are anything but mostly peaceful. The result has been widespread assaults on our law enforcement officers. Protesters and criminal aliens have physically attacked officers. Officers have been pepper sprayed, choked, punched, or even injured to the point of hospitalization. Protesters have made violent threats against ICE officers, comparing them to fascists and Nazis, inciting more violence against immigration officers who are, again, simply doing the job that Congress has asked them to do. They are enforcing federal laws. They've rammed officers with vehicles, thrown tear gas, smoke grenades, rocks, bottles, and even punched and shot at our ICE officers. Left-wing protesters have laid down in the road in an attempt to prevent vehicles from belonging to law enforcement from entering or leaving detention facilities, and even slashed the tires on government vehicle cars, all to prevent ICE and CBP from doing their jobs. These groups have also interfered with the capture of illegal aliens, including facilitating the escape of a convicted child rapist and an alien convicted for narcotics and weapons possession. Some of these protesters are outright lunatics, and I don't use this word lightly. Anyone watching the news has seen protesters from every corner of the radicals' left base. We've seen everything from straight-up thugs committing physical violence to activists dressed as dinosaurs and rabbits, and in some costumes that I won't even hazard a guess as to what they are trying to represent. We've even seen some dancing grandmas trying to stop enforcement of our immigration laws, one Jane Fonda dance move at a time.
5, 6, 7, now through the grapevine. Good job.
Mom, to you the beat the reach up. Mom, to you the beat the
Well, suffice it to say, some of these activists have become so divorced from reality as to be characterized accurately as unhinged. But when you give protesters information about who is being targeted and why, suddenly they see the wisdom of this action.
Hey, y'all, be careful. They're arresting people at work here. Hardworking Americans who build, the ones who do all your landscaping, work on your cars, fix all your stuff. They're coming out here taking them all. They're coming out here just taking everybody at work. Be careful, everybody. Don't go to work today.
Where you work, child sex crime stuff.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Never mind. Weirdo. Never mind. Beto.
Many of us look to law enforcement officers for protection in cases of robbery, burglary, or assault. Why can't we extend the same level of respect to law enforcement officers who carry out our other laws that Congress has passed, like our immigration laws? The left sometimes calls themselves the party of the people, but they don't seem to have much regard for their fellow man and woman when they engage in tactics designed to impede ICE and CBP from getting criminal aliens off our streets and out of the United States. Why is the radical left so intent on protecting illegal aliens over U.S. citizens who are suffering the consequences of violent crime? To me, that is the most important question that remains unanswered. I now recognize Senator Padilla, the ranking member.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me first say that violence against law enforcement is never okay. And I speak for all my Democratic colleagues in the committee and the Senate for that matter in saying so. Violence against law enforcement is never okay. And I will continue to emphasize that as we have in the past. We will today and in the future, if for no other reason, because many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle suggest and accuse Democrats of believing otherwise. But for today's hearing, let me begin with a very simple question. Why are we here? Are we here truly to conduct oversight and find ways to actually improve the situation and public safety in our communities? Or are we simply here to throw more fuel on the political fire? Today's hearing title tells us all we need to know. Quote, "The radical left's crusade against immigration enforcement." That doesn't exactly set the stage for a productive, serious conversation about how we both protect law enforcement officials and improve public safety. It's the title of the next exercise in Republican political theater. That's really what's happening here. So let me once again say that violence against law enforcement is never okay. But I refuse to sit back as this committee attempts to use or condone the use of law enforcement as a shield for abuses of power by this administration. If today's hearing was indeed a serious effort to protect our law enforcement, we would have government witnesses testifying before us today and fielding our questions as a committee. But that's not the case. If today's hearing was a serious effort, those government witnesses would be providing facts and data behind the numbers that the Department of Homeland Security so often cites to claim an increase in assaults on its officers and agents. But even after repeated requests, months and months of requests from my office and from others to the Department of Homeland Security to back up their claims of is it 500%? Is it 1,000%? Now we're even hearing claims of up to 8,000% increase in assaults or death threats. They've refused to provide them. Mr. Chairman, you're very well aware of this. You and I discussed this last week. And as far as I can tell, they've even refused your requests for data and statistics. Why am I insisting on this? Why am I making this point? Because that data is critical. Not only would it allow us to actually verify their claims, but that data would be critical to informing our policy response. So no, today's hearing is not a serious attempt to protect law enforcement. It's designed to fuel the propaganda machine and encourage even more brutal immigration enforcement operations. It's designed to cover up for the fact that after President Trump pledged to go after the worst of the worst, this we do know from DHS statistics. Over 70% of those currently detained in ICE custody have no criminal record. If they were simply focused on those truly dangerous, violent criminals, there would be no objection, there would be no debate, there would be no discussion. But the reality is far from their claims. At the same time, what we are seeing every day is new acts of brutality and misuse of force in communities across the country. But my guess is that today you won't be hearing about the Department of Homeland Security's violent takedowns of peaceful, hardworking, long-term immigrants who don't have that violent criminal record that the administration wants you to believe. And I'm not just making this up. There's case after case, including a deaf DACA recipient who had his hands cuffed and his phone taken away so he couldn't communicate as he was shoved into the back of a car. You won't hear about the journalists who are threatened and assaulted, one so severely in New York they had to be hospitalized. You won't hear about the clergy being shot in the head with a pepper ball or arrested for attempting to administer the sacrament of communion to the faithful at a detention facility. And you won't hear about the 170 American citizens, there's probably more, but that's what's been documented, caught up in these chaotic immigration raids. American citizens caught up in these raids. Even as Secretary Noem lies and claims to say, when she says that no American citizens have been detained, every week we read new reports about another American who's had their neck kneeled on, their door blown off or their windows smashed, and even a pregnant woman in Florida, a United States citizen who was thrown to the ground during an arrest and who later miscarried. This is happening every day across the country. Masked agents have become so emboldened that even a Reagan-appointed federal judge recently wrote, and I'll quote, "In all our history, we have never tolerated an armed, masked, secret police carrying on in this fashion," end quote. Now, this administration ignores the fundamental rights to due process every day as it carries out this authoritarian enforcement agenda, and instead has replaced it with the idea that if you look or talk a certain way, that's enough for you to be detained or even deported before you have a day in court. That's not just morally wrong. It's an attack on our fundamental liberties and the rule of law in the United States of America. But again, Republicans don't want to discuss any of this. Why? Out of fear of crossing the president and his outrage machine? Americans have had enough. They're sick of masked agents disrespecting daycares, schools, and churches, disappearing loved ones, and intimidating our communities. Americans are demanding that we do something. So, Mr. Chairman, it's clear to me that this hearing will not be a serious or constructive conversation. And for that reason, I refuse to give oxygen to the fire of disinformation and propaganda that this hearing was set up to ignite. And I refuse to be part of this charade.
Well, Senator Padilla, I think you say we're not discussing a lot of those items, but I think you just raised a lot of interesting questions that I'd be happy to discuss and ask questions of the witnesses and get their views. This is not necessarily the only hearing we're going to be having on this topic. And I think given the fact that there is so much disinformation, it's important for us to get the facts and not just rely on misinformation, which seems to be rampant. I'll proceed to introduce the witnesses. The first is Sheriff Roy Boyd of Goliad County, Texas. Everybody who knows a little about Texas history knows the importance of Goliad and the Texas Revolution. Goliad's in rural South Texas with a population of around 1,000, situated halfway between Houston and Laredo along U.S. Highway 59. Sheriff Boyd's been a peace officer for 31 years and retired from the Victoria Police Department and Victoria Sheriff's Department before becoming the sheriff of Goliad County. Sheriff Boyd also worked as one of the co-leaders on Texas's Operation Lone Star. Mia Cathell is an investigative journalist at the Washington Examiner, tracking activist movements in the U.S. and civil unrest across the country. She closely monitors mobilization strategies, funding sources, and the ideologies driving political violence. Her coverage on Antifa's operations has caught the attention of the White House as the Trump administration seeks to dismantle far-left domestic terrorism networks. Danielle Carter Walters is co-founder and vice president of Chicago Flips Red and a dedicated political activist and community advocate. Chicago Flips Red is a grassroots initiative dedicated to transforming the political landscape by prioritizing the needs of Chicago's communities and residents. Ms. Carter Walters has been a vocal critic of the city's sanctuary policies and the misallocation of public resources during the migrant crisis. In April 2025, Ms. Carter Walters testified before the U.S. House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration Integrity, Security, and Enforcement about sanctuary cities, where she urged federal and state leaders to end sanctuary policies and prioritize the need of American citizens. If you all will please rise and I'll administer the oath. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Thank you. Sheriff Boyd, why don't we start with you, and if you take about 5 minutes or so to make an opening statement, and then I'm sure we'll have some questions for you and the rest of the witnesses.
Thank you, Senator. To the Honorable Chair and members of the Senate Committee on the Judiciary. My name is Roy Boyd. I'm the Sheriff of Goliad County, which is rural South Texas County, about halfway between Laredo and Houston, as the Senator said. I'm here to discuss the current situation with regards to law enforcement and the enforcement of the laws, and more specifically, the implementation of the 287G task force model, and the need to expand the program and change our model of conducting law enforcement operations across the United States of America. Here's why these efforts are important to the future of our nation and the safety of our citizens. While illegal immigration has been a historical issue along the U.S.-Mexico border, this changed more than a decade ago when the cartels seized control of the border regions of Mexico and changed their business model to include smuggling of people. When this happened, the cartels began controlling who came across the border and began torturing and killing anyone who attempted to violate their control by crossing into the U.S. without paying the cartels. This control gave rise to a new way for the cartels to conduct business throughout the United States and beyond. In Mexico, the federal government leases territories to criminal organizations in what they refer to as the plaza system. The Mexican government allows cartels to conduct limited smuggling and trafficking activities in exchange for a monthly fee, with any activity above and beyond requiring additional payments to government officials as a tax on excess illicit commerce. The cartels have replicated this Mexican government's program with geographic control throughout the United States. I've witnessed this firsthand when I was the chief deputy for Victoria County Sheriff's Office, which is next door to Goliad. The Gulf Cartel took control of the cocaine trade in Victoria and surrounding counties. They then leased the sole distribution rights for the dealing of pure cocaine to the Houston chapter of the Mexican Mafia. The Gulf Cartel then sent out people onto the streets to tell the other dealers that unless they were authorized distributors of pure cocaine, they would have to cut their product by at least 50% with inert material. After operations were underway, the cartel sent people back out on the streets to purchase cocaine from non-authorized distributors for the purpose of testing the product for purity. If the cocaine was without inert product, the dealer was given a warning about violating the cartel's control of the product within the plaza. During this time, we began to receive word from local cocaine dealers that local cocaine dealers were disappearing. Many families were not reporting their missing loved ones to the authorities out of fear of retribution from the cartel and the Mexican Mafia. In total, our contacts on the streets advised that at least 10 drug dealers had refused to dilute their product and had been disappeared, never to be seen again. Only one family went public and sought justice for their son. We never found him or discovered what became of him or his remains. The other aspect of this new business model was that cartels began using illegal aliens smuggled into the United States as part of their logistic workforce. When people are smuggled into the U.S., they must pay a fee to the cartels in order to gain safe passage. In our area, most illegal aliens are smuggled into Houston for transport across the eastern half of the United States. Once in Houston, they are given the final amount that they owe the cartels and their contractors for being here. From there, the illegal aliens end up in various forms of indentured servitude across our nation. However, as part of that obligation of the cartels, these people have to be willing to provide labor and other services to pay off their final debt. We have interviewed many illegal aliens who have been smuggled into Texas during our investigations. What we found is that some will pay off the debt with money over a period of 8 to 13 years. Some will pay off the debt by smuggling other illegal aliens or drugs into the United States. Some will move illegal aliens and drugs from one area of the interior to another. Others will be placed into forced prostitution or will be called upon to provide material support in the unloading or moving of drugs and in the areas in which they reside. If you think these indentured people can just decide not to cooperate once they are here, that is not the case. The cartels have a vast intelligence network and keep records of the people they smuggle, to include family member information. I've had illegal aliens involved in criminal activity tell me that they had no choice but to commit criminal acts in order to prevent their family members from being placed into bondage and doing unspeakable acts in their home countries. What this means is that millions of illegal aliens now residing in the United States are part of the logistical support operations for illicit cartel activities throughout our country. If our goal is to dismantle cartel operations in the United States, we will never be able to do so unless we deny them the logistical capacity to conduct business in a manner that generates an acceptable stream of revenue to be moved from the United States into their home countries. In order to take the initiative in what can only be deemed as asymmetrical warfare against the cartels and their business partners, law enforcement must change their mindset and must change their methodology. We must look at what we have been doing in the past and ask if the billions of dollars we have spent are accomplishing the primary goals of the missions of the programs implemented. In most cases, I will speculate that with an honest assessment, we will find that most of the federal dollars being pumped into law enforcement programs is remaining in urban areas where expense versus return is not in balance. According to ICE.gov, as of November 14th, 2025, there were 1,167 local and state law enforcement agencies in 40 states that had signed memorandums of agreement for at least one of the 287G programs. Only 605 of those agreements are for the participation in the task force model, which is a model that allows local and state law enforcement to conduct field immigration enforcement under the supervision of ICE with more than 18,000 local law enforcement agencies in the U.S., 605 agencies assisting ICE in the field is insufficient to hinder the profit margin of the cartels. If we are to succeed in this monumental task, this effort of defeating the cartels, we must restructure our law enforcement efforts. We must disregard those who stand in the way of change, ignore the anti-American media outlets working against the interests of Americans, and create a new chain of command and organizational structure that allows for the synergy throughout full spectrum of law enforcement and streamlines the functionality in a manner that demands results and accountability while ensuring funds are being utilized in accordance with their intended purpose. This purpose must be to defund and prosecute organized criminal activity throughout America, which will not happen if we fail to enforce our immigration laws and deport those who have violated our sovereignty and have placed themselves at the disposal of organizations who victimize our citizens. The presence of Mexican cartels in the United States has changed how domestic criminal organizations function. It has created a negative impact that is becoming more pervasive day by day. Street gangs, motorcycle gangs, and other domestic criminal organizations have all been relegated to the status of mere contractors and subcontractors for the cartels. As such, they are beholden to act as they are commanded by their masters. Furthermore, hostile foreign governments and organizations have joined to work alongside cartels in an effort to undermine the safety and security of the United States from within. As a law enforcement professional who has witnessed the evolution of the influence of foreign organized crime in the United States, I fear that if we fail to act swiftly and with purpose, we shall find ourselves on the path that mirrors the never-ending violence and instability found in Mexico. In the words of Peter Wrangel, the general of the White Russian Army in 1919 fighting the Bolsheviks, we must have the courage to see things as they are, to look at the situation squarely in the face and be ready for fresh ordeals. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Ms. Carter-Walters, if you'd proceed with your opening statement, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Danielle Carter-Walters, Vice President of Chicago Flips Red. Thank you to President Donald J. Trump for giving regular citizens like me the courage to speak up. And thank you to this subcommittee for letting me share what is really happening in our city. Chicago Flips Red support the work the president is doing. And we fight for people of Chicago every day. We have also been targeted for doing what's right. Our founder, Zoe Lee, and our advisor, Jessica Jackson, were attacked after speaking out about stolen property in poor neighborhoods. And I recently faced pushback in Cook County Court for trying to protect my community. Even with all of this, we stand with the men and women of ICE, officers who risk their lives daily. These officers get no help from Governor Pritzker or Mayor Brandon Johnson. ICE has found dangerous criminals in Chicago, violent felons, child traffickers, drug smugglers, and cartel members, all hiding under sanctuary city protection. ICE has stopped fentanyl shipments, broken up trafficking groups, and removed criminals who were hurting our neighborhoods. This work is especially needed in the Black communities that are still recovering from the crack and the AIDS crisis of 1980s and from the damage caused by the 94 crime bill orchestrated by Jim Crow Joe Biden and put into law by Bill Clinton. But instead of helping ICE, our state and city leaders blocked them. They refuse to share information, ignore detainers, and even threaten to arrest federal officers for just doing their jobs. Some judges have also joined in. They have made unfair rulings meant to scare ICE agents. One of the worst examples was when a judge ordered Agent Greg Bravino to report to court every day as if he were the criminal. That was not justice. It was political gains backed by the fake news media. While this is happening, Mayor Johnson, Governor Pritzker are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal aliens, while regular Chicagoans struggle. Schools are crowded, crime keep rising, and families can't afford food or rent. Yet our leaders still put illegal aliens first. Over 56,000 illegal aliens are living in Chicago homes, while our veterans and homeless sleep outside. Cartel gangs like MS-13, Trendy Agua now have presence in our city. Fentanyl, guns, and human trafficking are flowing through neighborhoods that used to be filled with working families. ICE tries to stop this, but the judges, the Illinois Attorney General, the Chicago's Teachers Union, certain clergy members, the mayor, and the governor block them every step of the way. This is not compassion, this is failure. This is a betrayal of the people they were elected to protect. Chicago is broke. We're in a $1 billion deficit, overpriced contracts, and shrinking middle class. Mayor Johnson blames the government in Washington, but the truth is simple. Sanctuary policies have brought chaos and corruption to our city. So we, the people of Chicago, we demand this: a federal review of how Illinois blocks ICE from doing their job, a criminal investigation into judges who target ICE officers unfairly, a full check of all the money spent by state and the city on migrant programs, police, Cook County, and federal agencies working together again with ICE, and an end to these sanctuary city policies that put our safety at risk. Sanctuary should mean safety for Americans. In Chicago, it now means giving up our rights and our security. To every leader still defending these harmful policies, your time of pretending to serve the people is over. We will speak up, we will stand up, and we will not let corruption decide the future of our city. We will take our city and state back because it's for we the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cattell?
My name is Mia Cathell. I am an investigative journalist at the Washington Examiner. I've been closely covering civil unrest in the U.S. since the 2020 racial justice riots. Members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to appear here before you today to testify about this important issue. When the uprisings against ICE erupted on the West Coast in June, we saw uniform signage, tactical gear, and boots-on-the-ground activists deployed to Los Angeles, the epicenter of the unrest, almost instantaneously. These certainly were not spontaneous riots. They were well-coordinated and, in fact, well-funded. What we uncovered was an orchestrated operation, and those at the forefront of the anti-ICE resistance have received ample funding. Chief among them is the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, or CHIRLA for short. CHIRLA, a 501c3 nonprofit, is part of a sprawling anti-ICE activist network in the Los Angeles area, serving as rapid response to deportation sightings. CHIRLA instructs its followers via Blue Sky to report ICE encounters to the Los Angeles Rapid Response Network, abbreviated LARN. CHIRLA co-founded LARN in late January with the expressed intent to counter the incoming Trump administration's immigration policies. Here's how it works. In response to reports of immigration enforcement called in over its hotline, LARN sends out cells comprised of immigration lawyers, legal observers, and activist organizers in order to mobilize counter efforts against ICE. This rapid response model is replicated elsewhere across the country using crowdsourced surveillance software, some quite sophisticated, or simply social media to track ICE activity in the region and alert activists, as well as illegal immigrants, to nearby ICE agents. CHIRLA has acquired its funding from federal and state sources. According to CHIRLA's tax filing from fiscal 2023, the group reported receiving about $34 million in government grants. In its capacity as a legal services provider, CHIRLA helps illegal immigrants, including those convicted of crimes, avoid deportation. Grant records show that Homeland Security, the very agency CHIRLA is protesting, has awarded the anti-deportation group several six-figure grants since 2014 as part of an immigration aid program that financially supports organizations actively working to remove barriers to naturalization. CHIRLA has also received generous taxpayer funding from the state of California. In 2023, the state's Department of Social Services awarded CHIRLA about $3 million for an initiative providing free legal services to immigrants, such as application assistance in cases seeking immigration remedies, that is, deportation relief. In 2022, CHIRLA received $1.37 million from California's Social Services Department, specifically to provide pro bono defense services in removal proceedings. CHIRLA's deportation team, nicknamed Warriors for Justice, was bankrolled by the Los Angeles Justice Fund, a public-private partnership between liberal grant-making foundations, the City of Los Angeles, and Los Angeles County. These grantees formed a removal defense pipeline in the county. Another far-left agitator group fomenting anti-ICE unrest is the foreign-funded Party for Socialism and Liberation, whose chapters mass mobilize their forces in major U.S. cities, many of them so-called sanctuaries or safe havens welcoming illegal immigration. At the time of the Los Angeles riots, PSL activated its followers from all corners of the country to take to the streets, rise up in solidarity, stage parallel protests, and force ICE out of LA, a rallying cry that has since been repurposed for cities targeted by federal immigration authorities. PSL's San Antonio arm explained to local press at the time that the more cities that oppose ICE operations through these pressure campaigns, the more difficult a federal crackdown becomes. PSL chapters, such as the ones operating in Washington, D.C. and Milwaukee, continue to convene ICE out rallies to stop the raids. Most recently, PSL led an emergency march in Charlotte, where activists were seen waving Mexican flags to drive out Border Patrol and, quote, defeat the deportation machine. PSL Charlotte began circulating call to action material days before Border Patrol made landfall in North Carolina. A coalition of local and national organizations sponsored the protests, including 5051, one of the organizers behind the nationwide No Kings movement. Left unchecked, these powerful actors work in tandem to advance agendas harmful to the safety and security of the nation. Their shared objective is to obstruct the enforcement of U.S. immigration law, legislation that Congress enacted. Simply put, the men and women of ICE are law enforcement officers tasked with carrying out their congressionally mandated duties. They are under increasing threat of targeted attacks and hostile demonstrations that often devolve into violent clashes. At this rate, I fear more political violence is to come unless federal officers take further steps to protect our federal officers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll have a round of questions, and looks like our Democratic colleagues are boycotting the hearing, so Senator Moody and I will have a chance to ask questions we'd like, and I think there's a lot to cover. First of all, Sheriff Boyd, I know you were very active as a leader of Operation Lone Star in Texas. Would you describe what that is?
So in the state of Texas, you have Operation Lone Star, which is a state-initiated program that helps to focus state law enforcement to go out and to conduct anti-smuggling operations and to help secure the border in Texas, to provide assistance to our Border Patrol. And that's been going on since about 2021. But then you have the Operation Lone Star Grant, which is a grant from the state of Texas that provides funding to local agencies such as ourselves in order to pay for overtime and equipment needed to go out and combat transnational criminal activity across the state of Texas. And then what we have formed is the Operation Lone Star Task Force, which is now at 61 agencies across the state of Texas. And we come together and we work in unison with our partners at ICE, Border Patrol, Homeland Security, Texas Department of Public Safety, and Texas Parks and Wildlife, and of course, the Texas Department of Agriculture under Commissioner Sid Miller. And we go out and we help conduct enforcement operations to help secure Texas against the criminal predations of foreign entities.
Well, Sheriff, can you explain for people who are listening why, if these are federal immigration laws that are being violated by people illegally entering the country, why is it necessary for local and state law enforcement to work alongside of Customs and Border Protection, the Border Patrol, and ICE to deal with this problem?
Just to give you a little bit of perspective, so during the first Trump administration, the Goliad County Sheriff's Office on average arrested 77 people a year. In 2021, we arrested 252. We thought that was a phenomenal number.
How far are you from the border now?
180 miles.
Okay.
Halfway between Laredo and Houston.
Okay.
So from there, by 2024, we arrested 502 people. It climbed every single year. It now is on the path declining since the second Trump administration has come in. But the problem is that we have allowed tens of millions of people to come into this country illegally, and they are all beholden to the cartels, and they are moving around. And there's no way for our federal partners to be able to tackle this monumental problem without the assistance of local and state law enforcement. And as a law enforcement official, it is my duty to stand up and make sure that the citizens of my community and my safer state. And as part of that, I am there to help the federal partners that we have to achieve the goals given to them by the duly elected administration under President Trump.
And of course, that job's even harder when the federal government's policy is basically not to enforce immigration laws, correct?
That was exactly why we had the problem under the Biden administration in the first place, because the laws were not being enforced, and so we were being overrun by transnational criminal activity being directed by the cartels.
I think some people who don't live in Texas or don't understand the nature of the border thought that this wave of folks from Mexico and Central America and around the world would be welcomed with open arms by local border communities, which are overwhelmingly Hispanic. Can you explain what your experience has been?
What the reality is those folks do not come across and stay in those border communities. Yes, the border communities were not happy with this massive surge of criminality coming across the Rio Grande or across the border in other areas. But what you'll find is those individuals were being moved in by the cartels. When they got here, they are not free to go. They are indentured servants. They go where they've been assigned to go to. And those individuals would come up and in our area go to Houston for distribution all across the eastern half of the United States. Same as the cartel does with drugs, they did with people. And they moved them all throughout the U.S. And so it's not so much a border problem, which is part of the problem we've had, is describing it as a border problem. The real problem is it's now a problem for the entirety of the United States of America, thanks to the tens of millions of people allowed to come across under the previous administration.
So is it fair to say this is a problem that is not limited to the border, but extends throughout the country?
This is a national security issue of the highest level, sir. And it is coast to coast, border to border.
So Ms. Carter-Walters, we're going to get to her in a minute, and Ms. Cathell, because there's a lot of questions I want to ask. I'm sure Senator Moody does as well. But one of the things you talked about, or that was mentioned, is so-called sanctuary cities don't cooperate with federal law enforcement officials. And my understanding is the Department of Homeland Security will issue a detainer on illegal aliens in the Goliad County Jail or any other jail. And in those jurisdictions where they do cooperate with federal law enforcement officials, the transfer of those individuals can occur there in the jail. And ICE isn't relegated to raiding populations in other places. It can happen on a much more orderly way. But you mentioned the 287G agreement. Could you describe that further?
So under the 287G program, which provides limited federal authority to local law enforcement after we've received our training on it, you have three different programs. You have the jail enforcement model, which is that allows us, if we arrest somebody on a state offense and they come into the jail, that provides somebody who has been trained access to the database in our jail to find out if that person who's already in jail is in this country legally or illegally. And there's a system we go through, and ICE verifies everything. The next program, which is what you were talking about, was the warrant service model. It's a warrant service officer model, which may sound like you're going out and knocking on doors, but that's not the case. What it does is it grants those who are trained in the jail the authorization to transfer somebody who's in jail on state custody from state to federal custody at the request of ICE. It also allows us to transport them from a facility that is not a contract facility for incarceration to another jurisdiction that is a contract facility for incarceration for federal crimes. The last program is the task force model program. And what that does is that allows us, my deputies in the field, myself included, to go out and when we're conducting our business and we come across somebody that we believe is in this country without authorization, gives us the ability to contact ICE, to go through a verification process. ICE then tells us, yes, you are correct, that individual is in the country illegally, gives us the authorization to detain them. We detain them, we take them, and then we get them transported to a federally approved contracted facility for them to be housed at before they move on to where they're going to have their deportation hearing.
So in the absence of cooperation by the local or state jurisdiction to transfer those prisoners from state or local government custody to the federal government, are those individuals simply just released into the community?
You're absolutely correct, Senator. In those jurisdictions, which we refer to as sanctuary jurisdictions, those individuals then, once they make bond on their state charge, they're going to be allowed to return back out onto the streets within that community. If you're not part of the task force model, it may stop you for not having, for having a violation of traffic enforcement. And just because you're in this country illegally, you'd still get released and be driving around on the streets of America, even though you're not supposed to be here.
Thank you. Senator Moody?
Thank you, Senator Cornyn, and thank you for holding this hearing. I think one of the biggest mistakes we could make right now in the history of our country is to not examine this pattern of completely ignoring our laws under one administration, and in fact, not only emboldening and permitting in fact, funding anarchist behavior under one administration. And then when an administration comes in to try to right the ship, restore the country, repair the damage, we get behavior that is not only obstructionist, subversive, but illegal, all in the name of what? For the life of me, if we want to ensure the devolution of our free state, our free nation, a nation under a rule of law, this is the quickest way to do it. And shockingly, we have not only funded and permitted this type of behavior, we now have lawmakers in Congress, senators, complicit in this, advocating it. As of yesterday, they were putting out a video encouraging government officials to ignore orders. Our enemies, our adversaries across this world are laughing at what is happening right now. And not only are they doing this and encouraging the behavior, they are obstructing us and trying to fix this every step of the way. And it's not just happening in our cities. They just shut down the government for 43 days. Shut it down. And at what point are Americans going to catch on and understand that these are not lawmakers of yore? These are people that are here that do not, in any way, shape, or form, want our country to continue as the country it was founded to be 250 years ago, a nation under a rule of law made by the people, the people's law. And every time they're ordering a government official to ignore it, ignore orders, they're telling them, ignore those that were elected by the people, ignore the law of the people. And so somebody in this place has to call that out, because that is the quickest way to lose this nation. And I want to say thank you for being here today and testifying. We have a law enforcement officer that was on the front lines and saw, I was the Attorney General of Florida, and when the sheriffs came to me and said, the Biden administration is telling us to release people here illegally that are in our jails, they've committed crimes, and instead of taking them from us, as they are required to do under the law, and deporting them back to their home countries so that they can't continue to victimize Americans, they are telling us to release serious felony offenders back into the communities. And so they had to, because Biden was not following the law. And that happened time and time again. Drug traffickers, burglars, people, and did it shock the nation when we kept seeing crimes being committed? If they were paying attention, it shouldn't have, because the sheriffs and law enforcement officers around this nation were being told by the Biden administration to push them back into our communities. Let me tell you another thing that I had to file suit on to get information when we found out. Historically, when we picked up people internationally that were trafficking drugs, killing Americans, when they were brought to our country to be prosecuted and put in prison for that, as soon as they served that sentence, they were deported, because they were picked up in international places, because they were drug traffickers. Who would have ever released them into our country when their only skill is drug trafficking in the middle of a drug crisis? Oh no, the Biden administration did. They started taking federal prisoners in federal prisons for drug trafficking here illegally, and instead of deporting them when their sentences were over, they released them back into your communities in America. And their only skill was pushing drugs into your communities. That's their skill. So thank you for testifying as what was happening. Now we have agents being directed, rightfully so, by this administration to go into communities and arrest those people that are here illegally, that have been committed crimes, many that were forced to be released by the Biden administration. And this is what we get. This is what we get. People threatening, harassing, victimizing law enforcement, trying to go out and arrest those people that the Biden administration pushed into your communities. And it wasn't just when they emptied the jails into your communities or they emptied the federal prisons into your communities. They kept letting everyone just walk into our country, hundreds of thousands of people every month, and push them in mass quotas to release into our country. They called it their discretion to parole. No vetting done. They kept saying, there's nothing happening at the border. Our border is secure. They testified to Congress under oath that our border was secure. And then they blamed Congress that they couldn't do anything else. How long did it take for President Trump to shut down the border? They've released 0 in the last 6 months. Compare those same 6 months to the Biden administration, hundreds of thousands of people pushed into our country, barely vetted. This is what's happening when we're trying to make sure that our communities are safe. That's why I'm introducing an act called the HALO Act, which would give these men and women who took an oath to protect our communities and put American safety ahead of their own, a buffer zone while they do their jobs. They should not have to tolerate this. If they tell someone to step away because they're trying to do their duties, that we as the American people have asked them to do, that we as the American people have asked them to do and put their lives on the line to do, they shouldn't have to deal with this. And I hope every single one of my colleagues understands that without men and women that take that oath and serve on that very thin line, we don't have a country under a rule of law. We ask them to do incredibly dangerous jobs. We could give them the space to do it. I also believe there is absolutely no way that these groups should be funded with American tax dollars. Talk about our adversaries laughing. There's like pouring acid on the fibers that bind us together as a nation, that create that strength. We're now going to take tax dollars and weaken that, going against the men and women trying to ensure safety, funding the people that are threatening and harassing them. Ms. Cathell, I thank you for your testimony. And what you've said today is that American tax dollars have gone to this subversive network. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Ms. Carter-Walters, what you're saying today, and thank you so much for being here today, I have often said that the very people that the folks across the aisle profess to want to protect are the very ones they are hurting with their insane, undermining policies. And it is so refreshing to hear someone, a resident of a place where this is happening, speak out and said, if they were looking out for Americans, the country that they swore to come in and represent the people, and not the criminals, this country would look very different. Thank you for your bravery and your courage to come here today. I don't know if that makes you any more popular in your community, but you're certainly representing what our founders imagined for a nation under a rule of law. And I am grateful to you. Do you believe that federal funding should go to states and cities that are sanctuary cities that refuse to enforce the law and refuse to work with federal law enforcement?
No, I don't believe that. And I just want to say it's not surprising that we don't see no Democrats here, because that's what's happening in Chicago. They don't care about the American citizens or want to hear what we have to say. So thank you for giving us a voice. This right here, what you see, is typical. This is what we deal with in Chicago every day with the Democratic Party.
You know, I think when we watched under President Biden, the man-made disaster, the man-made emergency that was President Biden and his administration, there was such damage, such recklessness, such incredible policies that were forced upon the American people that they didn't want, and they didn't want in their communities. You had states declaring emergencies. And what did that do when the sanctuary states declared emergencies because of what Biden did? They got more federal funding. So you have my commitment. I'm going to work on legislation that would restrict and eliminate federal funding going to sanctuary cities and sanctuary states that will not work with federal men and women of law enforcement, that these states that almost invite a criminal organization to base itself and take over cities and states like you're experiencing right now. You have my commitment. I'm going to file legislation to make sure we put an end to that. And let me just end, and I know, Chairman, I've gone way over my time, but let me just end by thanking you, Sheriff, for your service. My husband is a career law enforcement officer. What they have had to endure over the last 4 years is unconscionable.
It's unconscionable that any person in Congress would allow that to happen. I apologize to you. I thank you for your service, and may your commitment to the rule of law and what you expect of this great nation from its leadership and what you expect in terms of its continued strength in the future for the next 250 years, may your service continue to inspire other men and women to follow in your footsteps. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank Senator Moody for her impassioned remarks with which I fully associate myself. 1 year ago this month, the American people delivered a political earthquake, casting off the disaster of the Biden-Harris Democrat administration. There were many aspects in which their policies were harmful, but none more so than 4 years of open borders, more than 12 million people coming illegally into this country, 3 million gotaways. Gotaways, we know, are statistically much more likely to be criminals, to be murderers, to be rapists, to be child molesters, to be gang members, to be terrorists. It was not accidental, it was deliberate. And every single day of the Biden presidency, Americans were victimized, Americans were murdered, women were raped, children were brutalized by violent, criminal, illegal aliens that our federal government deliberately released into our communities. Ms. Carter Walters, you pointed out, the city of Chicago has been savaged by these policies. And I have to say, this hearing is a powerful illustration of the Democrats. They are AWOL. Every single chair on the Democrat side of the aisle is vacant, and they are representing beautifully what Democrat policy was for 4 years, protecting our communities. My home state of Texas saw a greater invasion than any state in the country. Now, a year ago, in January, President Trump came into office. And the result was stunning. This invasion ended not in a year, not in 6 months, but overnight. Illegal border crossings dropped more than 99%. Instantaneously. All three of us were at the State of the Union address where President Trump pointed out, he said a year ago, Joe Biden said he could not secure the border without new legislation from Congress. Now we've seen illegal border crossings drop 99%. As Trump said, it turns out we didn't need new legislation, we just needed a new president. We needed a president who would follow the damn law and not release violent criminals into our communities. Sheriff Boyd, it's good to see you. You're the sheriff of Goliad County in South Texas. You lead Operation Lone Star. Tell us the difference between right now with an administration that follows the law and the preceding 4 years with an administration that released violent criminals in your county and every community across the country.
It's night and day, Senator. The quality of life for the people of South Texas has drastically improved. And you're absolutely right. The numbers show it. Turns out you didn't need new laws. All you needed to do was have the right people in charge and free up Border Patrol to do what it is that they love to do, and that's protect America. And under the leadership of Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks, they have gone out and done exactly that. And it has made a world of difference in our lives. We went from arresting smugglers on a regular basis. In my small rural county, we arrested from 2021 to 2024, we arrested 98 people for smuggling and over 120 people for engaging in organized criminal activity directly tied to the Mexican cartels. We're no longer catching people for smuggling because it's hard to smuggle what Border Patrol won't let across the river.
For the first time in modern history, for the past 6 months, not a single alien apprehended at the border has been released into the interior. Sheriff, has the zero release policy dramatically reduced the burden on your deputies and on your county?
Yes, sir, it has.
ICE conducted over 100,000 arrests of murderers, of rapists, of child predators, of gang members. And beyond them, the gang captains and cartel operatives who spread violence in our communities like a plague. We are systematically apprehending the predators who roamed free deliberately under the Democrats' policy. Sheriff Boyd, in Goliad County, is your county and is South Texas safer with these arrests and these violent criminals being deported?
It is. In the last 3 weeks alone, we've been working a joint operation with ICE and Border Patrol. We've picked up 54 people detained for ICE that were in this country illegally. 11 of those had a criminal history here in the United States of America. 9 of those had been previously deported. And so it has made a world of difference. We've focused from what's coming in to getting what's already here and getting it out.
You know, and I got to say what is amazing. A year into it, the Democrats could have come together and say, you know what, we heard the American people at the ballot box a year ago. We heard that they didn't like violent criminals being released in our communities. They could have showed up at this hearing and said, okay, it was a mistake to order to ignore federal immigration law and release criminals. You know what they did instead? Instead, the Democrat base is protesting right now for open borders. Is saying, we want to go back to open borders. We want the invasion. Put the next poster up. We want the invasion to come back. It is difficult to think of a policy that is more harmful to our communities than releasing violent criminals into our communities. And I, for one, am glad we have an administration that will now enforce the law and keep our communities safe. Thank you to each of the witnesses. Thank you for the work you're doing. I hope and pray we will never go back to another administration that for partisan political purposes says, we're going to release gang members and murderers and rapists into your community, and we're going to look the other way as Americans are murdered and sexually assaulted. I hope that never again that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to explore a little bit more, Ms. Carter-Walters, not only what's happening in Chicago, but what's happening in the sanctuary jurisdictions around the country. And I agree with my colleagues, the fact that our Democratic colleagues aren't here. They don't care enough to actually engage, but want to just rely on talking points and misinformation about what's going on in your community and other sanctuary communities. It's a telling development here today, but it's consistent in my experience with their attitude about the violence, the crime, the drugs that occurred in communities all across our country, but particularly in sanctuary communities. So, in your experience, does the activities of illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities, does it focus on the gated communities, the areas of the affluent and the well-heeled, or rather does it focus on vulnerable minority communities, for example?
Yes, it's focused on the black communities, the vulnerable communities, exactly my community, and they were placed all in our buildings. So the place that happened where the ICE raid happened on 75th and South Shore Drive, Trendiagua had taken over that building. And the fake news failed to mention that prior to that, a couple of months earlier, that one of those Trendiagua gang members had executed another illegal alien, shot him in the head, and buried his body in concrete in one of those apartment buildings on 75th and South Shore Drive. But they didn't show that. All the fake news showed was ICE officers coming into the building and saying and lying, saying that they're arresting American citizens. Well, when you saturate our communities, American citizens community, with Trinidad and illegal alien gang members, then what do you think that's going to happen? Then when ICE come in and have to do the raid to get them out of our communities because that's what we wanted and that's what we voted for, then you're going to have American citizens that's going to have to be detained for a minute so they can separate us and make sure we are safe. And I just want to commend the officers because they did a phenomenal job. They made sure that no one was hurt, no American was killed, or they didn't put our lives in danger. They actually helped us. And what the Democratic Party did, Mayor Brandon Johnson did, was put our life in danger when he saturated our community and apartment buildings with illegal alien gang criminals.
Now, Trinidad is a violent Venezuelan gang, correct?
Yes.
And you're saying in the absence of law enforcement by local and state officials in places like Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, that they pretty much rule the roost in those communities. They can do basically whatever they want to do with impunity.
Yes, because the police officers are told to stand down, just like you saw when they were blocking ICE officers in, and the police chief told them to stand down. They wouldn't even allow officers to help federal officers, ICE officers. They wouldn't even help them. So you can imagine what it's like for just American citizens, regular citizens, what we have to deal with when we call the police and complain about what's happening in our communities with illegal aliens. We don't get no help. The police come and they say it's nothing they can do about it because they have stand down orders.
So not only are the immigration laws not being enforced, it's actually worse than that. Local law enforcement in these sanctuary jurisdictions are told don't cooperate, even when the life, property, and of American citizens is being jeopardized by those illegal immigrants who are not being detained and not being deported. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And Ms. Cathell, thank you to the Washington Examiner for allowing you to come testify today. And I know you're an investigative reporter, not a political advocate, but we need accurate information so Congress can decide what the proper policies may be. And I agree with Senator Moody, we need to do even more to make sure that the federal taxpayer or the state taxpayer is not funding organizations which encourage or facilitate attacks on law enforcement, including ICE and CBP officers. But you mentioned in your remarks the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, and what's the acronym for that?
CHRLA.
Okay, and it sounds like a pretty benign organization, but how are they funded? Again, is this a combination of sources, both tax dollars to these so-called NGOs, non-government organizations that are providing services to people who are in the country illegally, or is it more than that?
In addition to tax dollars, CHRLA also receives funding through Act Blue. It has a standing campaign on Act Blue, which is the Democratic Party's primary fundraising platform.
Wait, now that's news to me. Act Blue is an internet-based fundraising program which allows individuals to contribute money to Democratic candidates for office. But are you saying that the Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights of Los Angeles also raises money on this political fundraising website?
Yes, many NGOs have active campaigns on Act Blue.
Well, that's news to me, but we will certainly look into it. I think, Sheriff Boyd, let me go back. Even though, as Senator Cruz pointed out, the border is far more secure than it has been in years, there's still a lot of people in the country that don't belong here because they've simply thumbed their nose at our laws and committed various offenses against American citizens and even other illegal immigrants who've been in the country. But I know that on October the 1st, your office and the Splendora Police Department helped ICE locate and arrest an illegal alien female from Mexico who was wanted for intentional homicide in her home country. Could you talk a little bit about that particular case? I think it's a matter of public record, so maybe you can just fill in some of the details.
Yes, sir. We sent some of our folks up to assist ICE in the Houston office to go out into the field and help them out with conducting investigations and identifying and tracking down people that are in the country illegally. One of the individuals that they wanted to track down was a female from Mexico who was wanted for homicide. If I'm not mistaken, she murdered her boyfriend in the front yard of their house. And she had escaped to the United States of America to avoid prosecution. She was here for some time, and in 2024, she was actually apprehended, but the Biden administration ordered her to be released back into the United States instead of deporting her for the Interpol warrant that existed for her murder.
Now, why would they do that?
Your guess is as good as mine, but I assume because those were the people they really wanted to bring into this country. So chaos brings opportunity for more control. So why not have people here that cause chaos? But we were able to locate her and get her identified at a house in the Colony Ridge area, which, of course, Colony Ridge is a community in Texas that is known for a high concentration of people who are gathered here illegally in the country. We're able to get her and take her into custody, and so turned her over to the federal agencies. So under this administration, she will no longer be roaming the streets of Texas as a wanted murderer.
I'd like for you to expand a little bit on some of your earlier testimony about the connection between the cartels, which are the criminal organizations that operate, in this case, in Mexico, some of them in Central and South America as well. I once heard somebody explain what their business model is, and they were called commodity agnostic. Could you explain what that means to you?
Yes, sir. Basically, if it will make them money, they are willing to do it. They really don't care. They have no conscience. There is no right or wrong in the cartels world. There is only making money and having power within Mexico. And so that is what they are after. It doesn't matter if it is illicit tobacco products, which is a big deal for the cartels, not only in the United States, but in Canada. But if it's stolen vehicles, which in the state of Texas, under the Biden administration, we went from about 60,000 stolen vehicles a year to over 100,000 vehicles stolen a year in an effort to support the smuggling operations of the cartels. Doesn't matter if it's drugs, if it's people. Whatever is going to make them money is what they're going to do. Illegal gambling, many of the 8-liners that we have, the gambling rooms that we have across the United States have connectivity to the cartels as part of their money laundering organizations.
And of course, that includes, and you've covered this, but just to emphasize, it also includes smuggling things like fentanyl, which has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans over the years, that primarily comes from Mexico, and making money with the drugs, but also human trafficking. Every individual that they smuggle across the border, they get paid, right?
That is absolutely correct. They get paid an upfront fee, but they also get paid additional fees while they're here in the United States. And as I've articulated before, we found that it takes about 8 to 13 years for people to pay off that debt once they're here. One of the things that Senator Moody touched on was about our enemies laughing at us. But that goes right along with, the cartels have been doing the same thing for quite some time. And you bring up fentanyl. You'll notice that our fentanyl deaths have drastically reduced under the Trump administration. The fentanyl coming in this country is drastically reduced, not just because of the fact that Border Patrol has really tightened up the border across the United States and Mexico, but also the fact that the cartels, our intelligence tells us the cartels have curtailed their fentanyl production because they're afraid that the administration may come into Mexico and come after them as a result of killing so many Americans. And so all the cartel is doing right now is they're buying their time. And if they can get to a point to where Trump is going to be out of office and we're going to have a weak administration, they will immediately fire back up the fentanyl production, and we will see the same tragedy happening over again if we don't fix this problem right now. Now is our opportunity to defund and dismantle the cartels, and if we don't take advantage of it, it's our own fault.
So I think sometimes people think that illegal immigration and smuggling of drugs stops at the border, but you mentioned the logistical support that other criminal organizations and gangs, for example, provide. What happens once the drugs are smuggled in the United States through this logistical support that you mentioned?
You have to look at it.
And is this isolated in any geographic area, or is it nationwide?
It's pervasive. It's all the way across our nation. It's in. You got to look at the new generation Jalisco cartel is in, I believe, 56 countries at this point in time. But when it comes to the distribution of product, they're pervasive all across the United States and Mexico. They have cemented their organization, solidified their business model. Look at them like you would look at a large department store across the United States. They have employees, they have contract employees, they have distribution networks all throughout the United States. It's like a spider web, and that's the problem. We have to deny them their logistical capacity to conduct their business here in the U.S. if we're going to get rid of the cartels.
Well, for example, Ms. Carter Walters, I know in Chicago, I either read in the paper or I see on TV or social media the number of violent deaths and murders that occur in Chicago on a regular basis over the weekend. But Sheriff Boyd, would you say that those, a significant number, some or most or all, perhaps maybe not all, of the criminal activity, including violent deaths in places like Chicago, are tied to illegal drug trafficking?
Absolutely. And if you look across the board in law enforcement, what we know in law enforcement is this, that at least 95% of all of the Class 1 crimes in the United States of America that are committed, that's your burglary, robbery, sexual assault, homicide. Those things are tied directly to the Mexican cartels and the products they push into this country, because people commit crimes based off of greed, based off of their addiction, and based off of territorial disputes. Those things across the United States, doesn't matter where you at, tie right back to Mexico.
So I think sometimes people want to differentiate or distinguish between local criminal conduct, and particularly by gangs and the like. But what you're saying is there's a direct connection or even a pipeline for the criminal conduct of the cartels in places like Mexico and what happens in places like Chicago. And I suppose that these organizations, they fight for market share and fight even among themselves. And is that in part responsible for the gun deaths that you see in places like Chicago on a regular basis?
It is, based off of those markets that are going to have a higher value. You're going to have organized crime come in and try to vie for the rights of those territories. And sometimes the only way to get those rights pulled away from one organization is to take them out, and you'll see a lot of that violence. But like I said, that crime is tied directly back to Mexico. If somebody breaks into your house tonight, they're probably trying to feed an addiction probably to drugs that they got from a dealer who works for an organization that is a subcontractor for a contractor that works directly for the Mexican cartels. So most of our major crime leads right back to Mexico.
So you really can't separate domestic crime and law enforcement from what's happening at the border and by virtue of these criminal organizations that we call cartels.
They are one and the same.
Well, let me thank all of you for your willingness and courage to testify. You can tell that this topic is not universally popular because sometimes the truth hurts. People don't want to hear it. And rather than engage in reasoned debate and discussion and trying to drill down to what are the facts and what are the is disinformation, they just decide to ignore it altogether and stick their head in the sand. And unfortunately, you've seen some of that here today. But I very much appreciate all of you being willing to come and having the courage to tell us what we need to hear in order to help make our communities safe. And I know sometimes President Trump gets criticized for dispatching the National Guard or other federal law enforcement officials to some of these communities to quell the violence and to back up and assist local law enforcement. But it strikes me that the reaction by the residents of those communities is much like that expressed by Mayor Bowser here in Washington, D.C., when she welcomed the National Guard coming in and backing up local law enforcement, and it's had a dramatic impact and reduction on crime, including carjackings, assaults, and robbery and murder in the District of Columbia. And why it is that political leaders, the governors and mayors in some of these places like Illinois, ignore that and somehow hide behind these well-funded organizations which help sponsor and encourage and facilitate this demonstrations like we've seen against ICE doing the job of enforcing the law that Congress has passed. If people have a disagreement with the law, then there is a forum for them to come and talk about that and to petition their elected representatives to change the law. But these are laws that have been passed on a bipartisan basis by Congress, and these heroic law enforcement officials are doing that in communities all across the country, and they don't deserve to be vilified or attacked or assaulted or even criticized, I believe, for doing the job we've actually asked them to do. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate your time and your testimony. We're going to leave the record open for a short while here in case there are any other questions that members of the committee may have, and they may come your way, so keep an eye out for those if that happens. I know frequently we have conflicting committee assignments and other activities, so not even some senators who want to be here could be here, so you may well see those follow-up questions for the record. So thank you very much. This hearing's adjourned.
Mr. Ganji.
Sorry, Senator Kennedy. As much as I love Senator Kennedy, that's not the video that we're going to watch. I do, however, have a couple of more videos that we're going to go look through. This is the president, the legitimate president of Venezuela. They won by 70%, and the dictator Nicolas Maduro stayed in power. I hope that you guys have enjoyed that hearing. It is something that we have been speaking from the beginning, and nobody wants to listen on the left. I don't want to say nobody, because we have a lot of patriots on the Democratic side that have seen the light, and they are with us today. So I want to appreciate everybody paying attention to that. There was a lot of truth in there. You can see the congressman also was not aware of some of the things that were going on. I think sometimes that can be the problem of why Congress people don't react the way they're supposed to. I think they're so loyal to the party that they just take all the information that they are given by somebody else who is leading them, and they just follow. Just like many Democrats, they just go vote and they just check Democrat all the way down. They don't even know what policies are being implemented. They don't know what promises are being made. They don't know if these people are ready to do leadership in government. They don't know any of that, but yet they keep voting that way. All right, let's go ahead and listen to see what she has to say about Venezuela here. Pay attention, guys. This is important.
This Freedom Manifesto?
Well, because we are at a turning point in the history of Venezuela, at the threshold of freedom. And these are the values that are shared by our Venezuelan people. We have been so hurt in our soul, in our families, in our values, in our land. And the country has come back together and rising with pride and strength.
So in a Fox and Friends TV exclusive, Rachel Campos-Dove is speaking with the Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, about her newly released Freedom Manifesto, detailing her plan for a post-Maduro Venezuela, reading in part, quote, "We, the citizens of Venezuela, are not appealing to power or privilege, but rather to the eternal rights that have been bestowed upon every human. It is from this foundation that truth is born. No ruler, faction, or tyrannical force has the ability to dictate to individuals what is their by right, and that is freedom. Rachel Campos-Duffy joins us now. Rachel, it looks like she's preparing to take over. Does she know something that we don't?
Well, they must see light at the end of the tunnel, and they're signaling, and she is signaling in many ways. So first, let's just set the record straight. Back in 1999, this country gave away their freedom in much the way that I think New York City is doing. They voted in socialists, and this has been the result of it. They've lost their freedom. They've lost all their economic power. They were the most economically rich country in the hemisphere. They were the envy of all of the other Latin American countries, and look at them now. And so I think they're seeing this armada, Brian, this giant armada off the coast of Venezuela. They're seeing the economic pressure being placed on Maduro. And I think they're signaling to their people, but also to the world, saying, listen, we are ready to do a peaceful transfer of power. We know how to run a democracy. We've got this blueprint for a constitution. And unlike other countries where you've seen regime change and the U.S. has been in some way involved, Brian, this is a country that doesn't need to be stood up economically. They have all the resources. They are resource rich. The problem is that this regime has not been able to manage it because really they're just a gateway for cartels, for the Chinese. They're a hub for all kinds of criminal activity. And so they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. They want it out. Here's what she told me, Brian, about what it will look like when they're gone, when Maduro's gone.
That we are united around these values. We share these principles. So we will see an orderly and peaceful transition so that Venezuela turns into the greatest ally of Western democracies in this region. And that will happen very soon.
As we've been saying.
So didn't they have an election? And didn't Maduro get 30% of the vote as opposed to the 70 that they got?
Yeah, they won 70% of the voters, and he stole that election. And in the last year and a half since that happened, he has imprisoned. There's over 900 political prisoners in gulags where they're being tortured. And I'll tell you this, Brian, the torture and the
Wait, Saint, are you saying you only watch CNN, MSN, and ABC? I can see why you are leftist.
repression has been turned up as the pressure has been turned up on Maduro. So things are, he's getting more paranoid. He's also killing off and disappearing people around him because he's really nervous about who might turn him in for that $50 million, bounty that Pam Bondi still has out over his head. So things are getting more desperate. But this Freedom Manifesto is a sign that they feel very hopeful that the time will come soon. I'll tell you this, Brian, do you remember back Ronald Reagan told this very famous story about our soldiers encountering American soldiers, Indochina refugees encountering American soldiers in the South Pacific Sea, in the China Sea. And when the refugees saw the American soldier on that boat, on the American military boat, he called out to him and he said, "Freedom man, freedom man." He called him Freedom Man. I think that's what the Venezuelans are seeing off their coast. I think that's what they think of Pete Hegseth. I think that's what they think of Donald Trump. They see freedom men off their coast. They see hope. They see opportunity. And they see a future without Maduro, without
Rachel,
socialism.
Who has control
and
of the
they
army?
have the resources to build it.
But who's got control of the army? As long as he's got the army and the military and the cops, they're not going to be able to move unless we do something.
Absolutely. What my sources are telling me is that there are already people inside of the Venezuelan military reaching out to the opposition saying, hey, we're ready when this thing goes down. We're ready to switch sides. I think things are going to happen soon. And like I said, for the American people, this is a win-win. You get rid of the Chinese who have aligned themselves with this man. You don't have to. You've got in Maria Corina and then this manifesto. You have people who are ready to stand up a democracy, who want a constitution very similar to ours. And then you also have a country that doesn't need American resources to stand itself up. In fact, energy-wise, they're going to be an amazing ally for us. as we need to look for more sources of energy
you
for our own country.
You marginalize Cuba. You kick the Russians out. Iranians have a huge presence there. It'll be a massive win. That's why it matters. That's why we have all those military assets in the region. Rachel Campos Duffy, we look forward to the rest of the interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And those are just tips, the tips of the iceberg. Check this out. Let me see.
I'm Senator Alyssa.
Here's your Democratic senators. This is the best example of how you can be a traitor to your nation. Go ahead. Show me what titles in the military you have received, what sort of intel agency you belong to. Tell me how you have served this country, and then go in public making a video on how to be a traitor to your nation. There is an oath that was made that they're supposed to listen to the commander-in-chief. And, well, hey, listen for yourselves and learn what not to do. I really hope they get prosecuted for this video.
Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship. I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris DeLuzio.
Congresswoman Maggie.
There's great servicemen and women. There's great veterans. And there is those that get discharged without honors. You're looking at all of them. They should have all been discharged without honor. They use their titles. I serve here, I serve in the military, just so that people will feel some sort of pride. Oh, let's support our service people. That's how they got in office. But let's be clear. If it is illegal for the military to follow illegal orders, as they say, what is more illegal than breaking federal law and hiding convicted criminals? What's more illegal? Why are we saying the Constitution? The Constitution does not belong to criminals, does not belong to aliens. It belongs to the American people. Read the back. We the people. Only the people that can vote. That is who the Constitution belongs to. I don't care what anybody else says. And these guys, they are protecting illegal immigrants. They're protecting criminals in sanctuary cities. So what is the obvious and the most logical thing to do? Send the military and get all these governors and mayors in jail. Don't worry, somebody else will step up. We don't need people that are destroying our country. We need leaders to stand up and defend and fight for this country. I made a short earlier. You may have seen it. All these dumb-ass Democrat politicians that keep calling illegal immigrants their constituents. Look it up. Find out what constituent is. Constituents are those who put them in office. Illegal immigrants do not put Congress people in office. They don't put the president in office. They don't put mayors in office. They're not supposed to. That's treason to me. That is treason. There's a reason why they didn't want to be in that room today to hear that hearing. Under oath, there was a reason they didn't show up. And that, my friend, is a problem. Grant Colby, you must be an illegal immigrant. If you're an American patriot, you would agree with me that what they're saying is treasonous. When the governor fails to protect our cities, we want our military to come and help. Chicago is doing this. Their butt's doing this right now, like a chicken trying to put an egg. It's doing this right now because they have seen how much crime has actually gone down since you went there. Imagine, and this is with the governor and the mayor fighting President Trump and the ICE and the military. Imagine that. Imagine how much more they will clean up and take care of. If instead of becoming obstacles, they will just say, hey, listen, here is the prison jail. Here's all the criminal, illegal immigrants. Take them all away. And maybe they will get a break from having that military in the city and the state. We're not dumb. If you're an American citizen, if you're a patriot in this country, you will agree with me. There is no shame on having the military police helping us, the military, the National Guard helping us on the street to keep us safe. Martial law is not the same. You don't see them rounding up young, innocent citizens or standbys. No, they're out there just watching the streets, able to provide support when they need it. Yeah, I don't think you know what a puppet is. Otherwise, you would know that that's exactly what Joe Biden is. It is a fact, and it's true. I wish that President Trump, and I believe that we will get rid of all these criminals eventually. But I wish President Donald Trump would just send the National Guard to all red states. All red states. All of them. Clean up the garbage from those cities. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Let me tell you a little story of what happened down in El Salvador. Nayib Bukele, which is the current president of El Salvador, was facing a crisis in his country with gangbangers, corrupted politicians, thieves. Salvador is a poor country. And there's a lot of illiteracy, a lot of laborers, a lot of farmers. And what I mean by farmers is, I mean people not with the big, huge company tractors. And no. Farmers, like family, small farming. And they go and they grab some potatoes, not much, just whatever they can grow in their small land. They grab some tomatoes, some vegetables, and then they sit at the market and they try to make a few dollars per day. A few dollars per day. And these criminals, when they couldn't take all their money away, mind you, it's just a little bit of money, but it would feed their families. It will be able to buy a uniform for their children to be able to go to school and notebooks and pencils, etc. And the people said, hey, don't fight the criminals all at once because the economy needs the money. The country needs the money for the economy. And he said, I don't care. I will not be a president that will be known in history of presidents to be a thief that robbed the people, nor will be I remember as a president that allow other corrupted politicians to rob his Salvadorian citizens. Not on his watch. he got all of the politicians investigated. Businesses that were corrupted were audited. He brought safety to El Salvador. Many people, the ones that are corrupted, like Democrats here in the United States of America, the leftist people, they say, let them out. They got human rights. Let the gangbangers out of the jail. They have human rights. And what about that grandma that lost both of her hands? And now she's out there. Huh? Now she's out there with no hands. And she's still doing the vegetables, and she's still making some money. Well, she had human rights as well, didn't she? And he made a point. He said, you people that keep telling me that they have human rights and that I put 70,000 people in jail. I said, no, what I say to you is this. I liberated millions that were being held captive by these 70,000 criminals. And you know what happened? The economy started to come back up. Why? Because the people, even though they're just making a little bit of money, they were able to keep it and use it for their buying things that they needed. And they call him a dictator, authoritarian, ruthless, tyrant. Some Salvadorians made some rap songs about him. That's my dictator, they say. Obviously trolling. But it's a fact. And then he builds this bridge. And then he puts all these beautiful lights on it. And he says, these corrupted politicians, they're demons. They demons like the darkness because they can hide their evil ways in the dark. But not anymore. We are light, and we will not live in darkness. And then politicians were saying to the people, we build public schools. We build schools for children. And they show a house with broken walls, made out of wood, plywood, horrible sink, metal sink on the roof. That's what they call schools for the children. Now you go back and watch the schools. Amazing, latest, the latest of the latest for public schools. All the children have nice uniforms. He has given laptops for every single one of those students. He has donated millions and millions of dollars to give those children the opportunity to get a better education with scholarships. The children are encouraged once again to be patriots of a country that once was ran by corruption, by corrupted politicians and thieves and criminals, like we're going through right now here in the States. And people got the nerves to come over here and throw, this is stolen land. People got the nerves to say, oh, what an authoritarian. Oh, there's open borders. Oh, nobody's illegal in stolen land. Oh, the stupidity. Same politicians over here, they say, oh, don't go too hard on crime. That's going to affect the economy. You know what? No. Go 100% against crime. And watch the poor people thrive. Get rid of all the benefits for illegal immigrants. I guarantee this country gets cleaned. Get rid of all sanctuary cities. I guarantee you this country becomes clean. Just like El Salvador did. Then they go and brag. Oh, we made a well. Now the people in the village can get water. And they're over there and they put this little valve of water. This is in Salvador. And they're like, oh, look at that. We did this with all the millions of dollars that you guys have given us in taxes. And then you see Nayib Bukele come in. Boom. Big building. Opens the water faucet. Strong stream. Toilets for the children. For the schools. Amazing. Amazing. What did he have to do? He had to clean up the corrupted politicians out of office. You see them in the Democratic Party right here. The traitors that made this video. Right here. Those traitors that made that video right there. You see it right in front of you. You see it. What else? They shut down the government to get it their way. They shut down the government to help illegal immigrants. How can Americans not get mad about it? How can Americans not stand up for the land? God, I'm telling you the truth. You see them putting men in women's sports. You see them destroying our children. You see them burning an American flag and putting a rainbow flag out there. What the hell is that about? They are traitors. And I don't have to serve in the military to call them traitors. It is a fact. You turn against the American people, you're a traitor if you're an American. Very simple. The moment you protect foreigners and illegals over your actual American citizens, your people, your family, the constituents that vote this government in place, the moment you go against them and put somebody else in their place, you're a traitor. The next time that there is an election, think with conviction. Use your common sense. Stop letting emotions dictate your life. Some things are not very nice to deal with, but that's what makes us adults. This is what we say, grow up. We can call names and we can joke and we can make all these things and have fun and all. That's fine. We can act like children sometimes, but sometimes you gotta be the adult that you know you're supposed to be. I know Liberty knows what I'm talking about. Liberty knows what I'm talking about. So I understand if people want asylum, guess what? A lot of the Salvadorians, by the way, there is millions of Salvadorians here that are now legal status to be here because of the relationship between Nayib Bukele and President Donald Trump. So let's get that fact out of the way. Now, if anybody asked for asylum because they were afraid for their lives, well, Salvador now is one of the safest countries in the world. Now everybody that requested asylum can go back to El Salvador. Asylum is temporary. It's not permanent. Just like food stamps, it's temporary. It's not for you to raise your son for 18 years. It's temporary. It's there for the widows. It's there for the disabled. It's there for those who actually need it. I believe every citizen that has a fixed income when they retire, they should get free health care and free food. And you know who pays for that? The American taxpayers. They deserve it. And you know why we're never going to get there? Because you keep allowing millions of illegal immigrants to come here and the country cannot support everybody. We just can't sustain it. You guys don't understand this. The wealth is not forever. If there's nothing coming in, that wealth is going to be depleted. Resources get depleted. Ask the farmers, how long does it take to grow crops? How much work, how much investment, how much time has to go by in order for them to reap what they're sowing? It takes a long time. And then they harvest, boom, done. And now they got this vast land with nothing, and they got to start over again. If we don't think with common sense, if we don't put our emotions aside, I'm going to give you a very horrible picture of, you guys watched, I think it was called Saving Private Ryan. There is a scene in Private Ryan where they got this German, hostage. And the guys decide to let him go free because they felt sorry. There was an emotional decision made. And then later on, this weak soldier, emotional wreck, is hiding in a building with his buddy, with his soldier brother. And the German guy comes in there and starts wrestling with his friend. And the emotional soldier, he didn't want to kill nobody. He was acting, and his decisions were made with emotions. His friend is struggling. He's staring at him. His friend is saying, help me. Help me. And the German soldier just looks at him. You're not going to do anything. And he slowly sinks that knife and kills his brother soldier right in front of him. That's what I call emotional damage. He should have had the balls to kill that guy, not let him go. He should have been able to kill that guy when he saw he was going to kill his brother in arms. You see, that's the difference between veterans that served this country and the sacrifice, the honor, and the respect is not because they serve. It's because they completed their service. They serve honorably. This is why we honor them. I don't honor every single person that wears the uniform. If they're corrupted, if they're evil, and they're not just they don't get honor from me. They don't get my respect. So these traitors right here, they get no respect from me. None whatsoever. Because they're traitors to their nation. They're traitors to their people. How dare they defend criminal, illegal immigrants? Use your tax-paying dollars to support them on top of that. Think about that. How does that make sense? How can we be happy and just say, hey, let everybody just come in, guys? Whoa, it's a big country. You don't know jack squat. I can guarantee you, you don't know what to do with $1 trillion. You think you're going to do a lot of help and just give it away? Here, you take this, you take that. And then once you run out of that $1 trillion, how do you get that money back? How do you make that $1 trillion back? Well, I'm going to show you how Democrats think. Because now we're going to go ahead and listen.
Representative Chris.
Not this, guys. I don't want to hear you, stupid ass. I'm going to show you this is what their answers are. Where is it? This is how they solve problems. I think it's this one. It just happened to be Fox. Mayor Johnson of Chicago. Watch. They are broke. We heard the hearing. Chicago's broke. How are they going to get more money? Well, let's find out.
Reporter Paris Schutz, who's here now, just back from City Hall, and you've got a little bit of breaking news.
Well, it looks like that corporate head tax that folks are concerned about, it was dealt a major blow. The City Council Finance Committee held a vote on it today, and they rejected it by a vote of 25 to 10. So
wow.
That's kind of a blowout here. And so the Finance Committee is kind of like the harbinger of where council is on this. So if it can't pass the committee, it's not going to pass the full City Council. And the mayor has a lot of work to do. But they were clear in their message. We are not for this. We listen to the business community. We fear that that's going to drive them away. And so they voted it down. So it's back to work.
And driving more businesses down is one of the biggest issues that keeps coming back up. And when we were talking about property taxes earlier today with Maria Pappas, and she was talking, well, if you have all of these empty storefronts, you know, how the consumer or, you know, the home buyer then ends up picking up that burden.
Yeah, and that the alderman in opposition to the head tax tried to connect connect those two things. So what the Pappas study showed is that because there's vacancy in the loop, these property values are going
Tell 'em,
down.
brother.
And this is the loop is the piggy bank for all of the city. This is where all the revenue comes in that helps programs that support the West and the South Side. So what these alders are saying is if you pass a head tax, you're encouraging employers to locate elsewhere, not in Chicago, which will drive those values down even further in the loop, which will hurt the entire city. That's the point they tried to make.
So the corporate head tax, which even the governor was not on board for, gets a no. Okay,
Right, that's a no.
But there are several more taxes that are still in the works. Where
So
are
and here's the thing, they all today's vote was on on the revenue package, so it was all the taxes and fees. They all got the no. So I don't know if the viewers here, the streamers, want me to list every single one. We counted more than 22.
We've got time.
Okay, all the proposed hike.
So you want me to change topic? Have we fixed illegal immigration? No. The topic stays. How we fix high taxes in our states? No. So this topic stays. Have we gotten rid of sanctuary cities? Have we pointed out how bad it is that they harbor criminals? No. So the topic stays. Have I not shown you videos of corrupted politicians with their own mouth? Our veteran in the chat here says that's terrorism. That's treasonous. You are telling military members, service members, to disobey orders. For my Patriots veterans in this chat, tell me, what is the punishment for disobeying orders? We cannot change topics that have not been fixed. Who's dumber? An immigrant that came to this country legally, became a resident. I worked my ass off. I worked 2 jobs for many, many years. Decades I waited as a resident alien before I became an American citizen. And you, Stephen, if you are an American, tell me who's dumber. The one that defends this nation and its people, or the ones that betray it and defend illegal immigrants and people that hate this country? Go ahead and insult me again. You have no brain. And Wayne, you are too stuck on hating Trump. It doesn't matter how much truth we say. Out of everything that I said, the one thing that you caught was, oh, so you don't respect veterans? That's a slap in the face that you deserve for that stupid question, because you didn't listen. See, a lot of these ignorant people that come in here, they say that I hate Latinos. Well, we are Latinos. Oh, they say that we hate natives. Well, we're natives. Well, they say we hate black people. Well, we're black. Oh, well, you hate veterans. Well, we got veterans. I never say I hate Biden. I make fun of him. It's easy. But I don't hate the old man. And if you have that in your mind, you won't be able to see the other side of the news. As somebody said over here, oh, this guy just watches Fox. That's the problem. What do you want me to watch? CNN? Every time I watch CNN, they're always lying. They're always making our ICE agents to be the bad people. How about maybe one day, maybe one day they will tell the citizens of America and the whole world, respect our ICE agents. Don't obstruct justice. Don't try to impede deportations. When have they said that even once? Respect our military, respect the authority, respect our police. When have they even said that once? Edward, take it easy, brother. I didn't see you in here earlier. Not once. So how can I listen to those news? It's torture when I go in there. It's very torturous. Okay, if they're not well trained, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I think that the job is very hard, and they should be better trained. Again, though, I want them to be better trained, but I also want people to respect authority. And I will say, if they get in the face of a federal agent, they should be slapped to the ground. Stop it. Get some help. I don't think it's a bad thing to be patriotic to this country. Did you know that if we get rid of all these 40 million illegal immigrants in this country, that we will have a lot more money and benefits to give the actual American people? We can still hire laborers to come here and work. That's fine. But we would be able to provide more benefits for our veterans and for our American people that need it. Luis Fuentes came in here for a little bit and bye-bye. Well, Dennis looking at Foxes because his wife isn't. I don't know what the hell that means, Luis. Keep an eye on Luis's comment. This guy, he's a bad herb. Just comes in here to choke out all the fruit that is on the ground. Let's continue to listen to Fox, since this guy's it's like holy water on demons. Let them burn a little bit.
Here, wheel tax, personal property.
No, you know what? No. This is MAGA country. I got something better for you. I actually got a video that we, as American patriots, should enjoy. Now, not the black screen. Not the black screen. We're going to go ahead and continue with our second video of our greatest POTUS in history. That's right. I said it. Greatest POTUS in history. All right, MAGAs. You guys get ready to get jiggy with it, because the big boss is about to get started. We got 49 minutes of goodness to listen to, because we love our president, we support our president, and we will stand by our president no matter what is what we voted for. Here you go, guys.
Donald J. Trump.
Actually hate to turn that beautiful song off, but let's get to business, right? And I want to congratulate you. You are with an incredible company, and I'm thrilled to be here with the men and the women who are really the heart and soul of one of the greatest, most admired, and most successful companies in the history of the world, frankly, the one and only McDonald's. I've gone there a couple of times. And I'm honored to stand before you as the very first former McDonald's fry cook ever to become president of the United States. And I actually was there for about 30 minutes, and that was 30 minutes longer than Kamala was there, right? Despite her job at McDonald's, that didn't work out too well. And the person at McDonald's had informed us off the record that she never worked there. Whoever you are, we appreciate that. That was very nice. But I want to thank, as you know, the famous Sundar and Sergey Brin. These are two guys that own and run a place called Google. They called me the following day after I did that McDonald's little skit, because it wasn't a commercial. You got it for nothing. It was a skit. And they told me that and I didn't know them. I said, who are they? They own Google. I said, that's pretty good. That's not bad. And that it received more hits than anything else in the history of Google, and that records, it still stands. So congratulations on allowing us to use it, but you made a very good deal as usual. But you know, in the old days, McDonald's and many others would call me to do this kind of a thing, come over and say some words and talk, and they'd pay me millions of dollars. Likewise, they'd do it, they'd call others, only superstars, and they'd pay them millions of dollars to speak. And as president, I'm doing this damn thing for nothing, okay? And you know what? Because it's you, it's an honor to do it, and it's an honor to be here. It really, the job that McDonald's has done is incredible, and that you're doing. But as you may have heard, I'm also one of your all-time most loyal customers. I really am. Well, I think that's good. I'm pretty sure that's good. While other politicians fly around on campaign planes stocked with expensive catering, on Trump Force One, prior to ascending to Air Force One, which is quite a nice plane also, we served only McDonald's almost every time. On occasion, we couldn't find one, which is pretty hard to believe. We'd go another route. But we really did. You fed us very well. And I even got Bobby Kennedy to eat a Big Mac. And he told me he loved it. He didn't want that publicized. He told me he loved it. I thought it was great. I want to thank McDonald's chairman and CEO, Chris Kempczinski, who I just met backstage. I guess gave him a little piece of my speech signed. I said, do you want to keep this? You can either hang it, you can give it to somebody, you can throw it away. I don't care. But I don't stay on the speech too long anyway, so usually those speeches aren't too accurate, what I give. But McDonald's USA president is here, Joe Erlinger. Joe, wherever you may be, thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. Good job, along with everyone from the International Franchise Association, which does really fantastic work. You do. I've heard from many people you do a fantastic job. So thanks as well to two former McDonald's operators now serving in Congress, Representative Kevin Hern and Chuck Edwards. Are you here, fellas? Come on, fellas. And they're warriors, those two. They're warriors. Thank you very much. Great job. And of course, let me thank the people who truly keep the McDonald's magic alive, the incredible franchisees, and you got a lot of them here tonight. Yeah, and you're the heart and soul, and they would tell you that all the time. They tell me that. You carry on the commitment to what Ray Kroc said he wanted from every McDonald's restaurant, perfection. Have you heard that? Perfection. That was very strong. Ray liked to say that if you think small, you'll stay small, and that's why no one thinks bigger than McDonald's, not in your industry, and probably never will. I don't know if anybody can ever catch you. I doubt it. Every single day you feed an incredible 1% of the entire world population, 70 million meals every day. An amazing 1 in 8 Americans works behind the counter of a McDonald's franchise at some point in their lives. Yeah, we heard about that. I heard about that. Wasn't true in that particular case, but for tens of millions of our citizens, the road to the American dream starts beneath the golden arches, beautiful golden arches. So to each and every one of you, thank you and congratulations on 70 years of American greatness. Congratulations. And you know, I just might add, this is also the golden age of America because we are doing better than we've ever done as a country. Prices are coming down and all of that stuff. And, you know, they talk about different terms for that. But I will tell you that nobody has done what we've done in terms of pricing. We took over a mess. We had the highest, think of it, the highest inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years it was the history of our country. And now we have normal inflation. We're going to get it a little bit lower, frankly, but we have normal. We've normalized it. We have it down to a low level, but we're going to get it a little bit lower. We want perfection. You know, you always want 1%. I don't know if anybody knows. You don't want 0. Zero can be bad. Then you start going the other route. That's no good either. Then you say, what's worse, deflation or inflation? But we have it almost at the sweet spot, and prices are coming down on different things. One of your groups that you admire, I admire, Walmart, came up last week, and they announced that Thanksgiving this year is 25% less. All of the accoutrements, that Thanksgiving is 25% less than it was last year under Sleepy Joe Biden. So that's a big statement, and others have followed up by saying just about that. And to your leader, when we met, I said, how are you doing with prices? Prices are coming down. He said, we were up 40% because of Biden and inflation, and they're coming down, and they're coming down rapidly. So I hope that all continues to go, but we're really doing well as a country. Most importantly, however, I will tell you, big picture, we have over $17 trillion being invested in our country in 9 months. It's now just about ready to crack 18. And by the end of 1 year, we will have about $20 to $21 trillion invested in our country. That's more by 10 times the highest amount ever invested in any country ever before. And it's largely because of tariffs and, I think, November 5th election. But it's the largest amount. As an example, so if we have 20 or 21 in 1 year, 21 trillion, think of what that is. That's car factories, that's AI, it's everything. They're all coming back because of the tariffs. They're all coming back because they don't want to pay 15, 20, 30, 100% tariff. It wasn't that complicated. People are saying, Trump was right. It really wasn't that complicated, but it's been amazing. As an example, if you take me at 20 for 1 year, Sleepy Joe Biden, you know what he was? Less than 1 for 4 years. And if they got elected, they would have been at minus 10 because people were moving out of the country in record numbers, and welfare and other charges were increasing at levels that nobody has ever seen before. So you would have had double and maybe 50%, maybe literally more than they've ever seen. Welfare was going up. Everything was going up. Government jobs were going up. Real jobs were going down. So you would have had that catastrophe, and on top of it, instead of 20 trillion coming in, you would have had 10 trillion leaving our country. In other words, you would have had a catastrophe. You probably would have had a bankrupt country. You are so damn lucky that I won that election. I'm telling you. It's true. It's true. It's actually true. I hope the press covers that. Sometimes he got up and he ranted and raved and bragged. I don't brag. I just give you the facts. It's true. But those in this room know the people of our country better than anybody. And before the sun rises, you're up serving hot coffee to construction workers, nurses, and police officers on the way to the job. In the evening, you stand ready with the fast dinner and a smile for busy moms and their children as they race from school to soccer practice. Really is. It's Americana. And late at night, your lights are often the only ones still glowing when the long-haul trucker pulls up for a good meal and a best Coca-Cola in America. Best Coca-Cola. Whoa. And I'll bet they use real sugar in your Coca-Cola. They didn't in the United States. I said to the head of Coca-Cola, you got to go to sugar. Yep. They do in other countries. And you know what? They went to sugar. Isn't that nice? I said, you got to go to sugar. Just like I said, why is the Gulf of Mexico called the Gulf of Mexico? I said, we're changing the name. And now it's the Gulf of America. It has nothing to do with McDonald's, but maybe it does. Because it's very nice cycle. We have 92% of the shoreline. They have 8%. I wouldn't say I made a lot of friends in Mexico, but they still like me. Wasn't that a good change? Seriously, wasn't that beautiful? And it was done in an instant. It's like, normally you think a thing like that would take years. This took like 10 minutes. I asked somebody, good lawyers in my office, I said, would I be able to change the Gulf of Mexico? Is that possible to the Gulf? Sir, it's been that way for 350 years. They were here 100 years before us. We're 250, they were 350. It's been called the Gulf of Mexico, sir, for 350 years. I said, that's not the question. Am I able to change it? Yes. What do I do? just give us the order and we'll do it. And I did, and we changed it, and everybody's happy. Well, not everybody, but most people. Most people are happy, but it's great prestige for our country. You know, it's tremendous prestige for our country, and that's good for McDonald's, and that's good for everybody else. As president, I want you to know that I'm fighting every day to support small businesses like yours and the citizens that we all serve. And together we're fighting for an economy where everyone can win, from the cashier starting her first job to a franchisee opening his first location to the young family in a drive-through line. I've been on that line many times. Actually, that line was incredible in the commercial, right? It wasn't a commercial. It was about, but they have the line. The people had no idea. So I made the French fries. The guy was really good. He had a great wrist. He was, sir. He was going like, sir. Yeah. It was not that easy, but I got it sort of finally. Not the greatest, but I kept pouring it in, asking him all sorts of stupid questions, but it was very interesting. Amazing. A little thing is not, it's a little complex, right? To father and son over there that own a lot, they're very rich people. But I'll tell you what, I asked, how many do you have? Sir, I have 59. I said, you're rich. But you know, nobody knew in the line. The line was a long line. They had 25,000 people, so somebody let them know we were coming. It was toward the end of the campaign. And after I did the French fries and did some other things, I then stood at the window. And the people would drive up, a little bored in all fairness. You know, it is, I mean, they're waiting for a hamburger, okay? So they drive up like this. They look over. Whoa! Every one of them. And it was fascinating. Every one of them, the response was incredible. Almost like I knew I was going to win when I saw that. I knew, because the response was love. It was great. They had a good time, but we did, I think, 12 people. Every one of them had the same response. They drive up, they this, they get that, getting a little cash ready, and they look over, and it was, some did a double take. Some went like that. Whoa. But it was sort of an amazing moment. You know, I did a garbage truck also, right? And everybody, and I thought, when I spoke with Sergey and Sundar, I said, yeah, but the garbage truck was equal, wasn't it? They said, not even a contest. Garbage truck was great, not even a contest to McDonald's. And that's because we had the power of McDonald's. I mean, it was an amazing thing. I thought the garbage truck would have won. And they said it was good, but it wasn't even close. So that's a tribute to what you've built, really. It really is a tribute to what you built. But there's still a lot of work to do, and we're making tremendous progress. 1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today than when I took office. Think of that. 1.9 million more today and these are American-born workers. Nobody thought that was possible. And we have the strongest borders in the history of our country. Nobody comes in unless they come in legally. You see the numbers. Everyone thinks it's impossible. A year ago, millions of people were storming our borders. Today, they only come in if they come in legally. And wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. And sometimes you might say, was that good or bad? It's great for you. The minimum wage thing you'll have to be talking about. You're going to have to fight. We were talking about California, Gavin Newsom from California. And I knew he's laying siege on the minimum wage. And you people probably know, because that's a very complex subject, and you people probably know better than anybody the impact one way or the other, good or bad. And you're going to let your local congressmen, your senators know about it. But in 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off a food stamp, and that's a record. And it's because we really have a strong economy. I mean, we're building thousands and thousands of factories all over this country. Wait till they open up. You're going to see something like we've never seen before. You know, we lost our auto industry. 54% of our auto industry left for other places over the years. And I think we're going to get it more than all back. They're coming in from Mexico, from Canada, from Germany. They're coming in from Japan. We made a deal with Japan, $650 billion. We never got anything. We made a deal with the European Union, $950 billion, and have to buy our oil and gas and many other things. And I want to say it's good for everybody. All that we made a deal recently with China, where they buy our soybeans, but it's hundreds of billions of dollars. And it's incredible what's taken place in our country. The world was laughing at us like we were stupid people. They're not laughing anymore. They don't laugh at us anymore. They respect us now again. And that's what we want. We want to be liked. We want to be respected, much more so than being liked. And you know, in a certain way, they like us better now, too. They respect us, but they like us better now because the world was ripping off our country. Not sustainable, not even sustainable. China was making $722 billion. Think of that. Not million. 722 million's a lot, isn't it? $722 billion. They built their military with the money that we gave them over the years. And in my first term, we had a great first term. The most successful economy we've ever had in my first term. This is going to blow it away. This is blowing it away, to be honest with you. It blows everything away. There's never been a time like this, and you're going to see the results, pretty quickly. But in stark contrast to the previous administration, 100% of all new jobs created in America under my administration have been created in the private sector. Because, we are trimming out government jobs. You can't have, what they do is they give you phony job numbers in a lot of ways, but they'd hire 100,000 people, and all of a sudden it looks like they're doing well. They're not doing well, because those are jobs they hurt our country. If those jobs can be in the private sector, paying taxes and all the other things, it's a big 100% of the jobs that we put in think of that, are in the private, come from the private sector. In my first term, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. And now we're doing it again, but this time it really is, as I said, much stronger, much better. I think it's going to be something that nobody has ever seen before. My pledge to every family and every small business is that I will not rest until you are richer, stronger, more successful, happier, till you've gotten a piece of the American dream. Some of you in this room have really gotten a piece of it because you made a great decision to go with a great, great company years ago. And it's really pretty amazing. That begins with making America. We have to do, the word is affordable, and affordable should be our word, not theirs, because the Democrats got up and talked affordability, and they don't say that they had the worst inflation in history, the highest energy prices in history. Everything was the worst. What they're great at is lying. They say affordability. Their stuff was all much more expensive. We have a couple of items like coffee, which is a little high. We're going to get that down. You saw that today. The coffee comes down. Remember when I first took over? Eggs. My third day in office, I have a news conference, and the fake news media was screaming at me, Mr. Congressman, about eggs. Remember that? I'm standing there very innocent. Oh, hello. Do you have any questions? What about eggs? What about them? They're up 4 times. I said, look, I just got here. I'm sorry. And Brooke Rollins and Department of Agriculture did a phenomenal job. And they said, don't order eggs for Easter because you won't be able to get them. And they said, we have a big Easter egg hunt at the White House. It's sort of a thing that has gone on for 100 years. They said, could you order plastic eggs? I said, I'm not ordering plastic eggs. We're going to have eggs down by that time. And by the time we got to Easter, the price of eggs had fallen precipitously. We had all the eggs in this country you want. And we know what we're doing. I mean, we know what we're doing. We rebuilt our military. We have the greatest military anywhere in the world. We make the greatest military equipment anywhere in the world. And everybody knows it. And everybody knows it. And you saw that with the way we took out the nuclear capability of Iran with those gorgeous B-2 bombers. They flew in there. And they wiped it. And the word was obliterated. Remember when CNN said, well, it might not have been obliteration. Think of the pilots. They go in there, they're under fire. I was watching this from the Situation Room, and you get to see things in situations that you wouldn't believe. And they said, sir, they have entered Iran airspace. All of a sudden you see much faster. Then you see him going down at the whole thing was crazy. I actually said, do people really want to do that for a living? They're waiting for him, but the equipment is so good. The B-2 bomber, stealth. They never saw them. They never saw them. I mean, it's the most amazing thing. And I honored the pilots at the White House. I had them brought in, along with mechanics and a lot of other people. We brought them to the White House to give a little celebration because they flew 37 hours flawlessly. Now compare that to the Jimmy Carter Iran situation with the helicopters crashing and the this and the, oh, what a horror, and the hostages. And I said, we can't let that happen, but we have a great team. General Raisin Kane is unbelievable. The whole group is unbelievable. And they went in, and I brought them into the White House, and I brought them then into the Oval Office, the pilots, and we met them, all handsome. They look like Tom Cruise. They really do. I don't want to be a wise guy and say, but taller. I'm not going to say that. No, they're perfect specimens. I mean, these guys are like from a movie. I could take everyone, put them in a movie. And I said to him, so what's the story with that raid? Did you expect, because you remember I pulled it back? Because I saw reporting that we're going to be leaving at a certain time. And I said to the general, is that not good that they think that? And they sort of got it right. They saw a lot of activity. Actually, you know why? They saw one of the things. They saw a lot of unbelievable activity going on at the McDonald's next to the base where they take off. The McDonald's was doing 5 times. They were going crazy. So they say, there's something going on over there. The biggest activity that McDonald's had ever had. And it was a nice story, how well it's doing, but that was not a good story for us. So I canceled it and then I announced we're canceling it. And the pilots said they were devastated. Then I put it back in the exact same time, because that was the only time they weren't thinking would happen. And we left exactly on time, but that was after canceling it 2 days before. And then we put it right back in the exact same slot. And we had identical planes, the B-2s, flying four of them, flying into Guam. And they thought that was the attack team. And they were watching those planes in Guam, going to Guam, and that was not the planes that we had. But think of it, they flew both ways 37 hours without a sputtering of a bad engine, without any problem. But they got in, and they said they have entered Iran airspace, and the enemy's waiting for them. And they dropped the bombs. They hit every chute. You know, they have air chutes that go deep into the granite mountains. If you don't hit those chutes, the damage won't be as big as you want. And every bomb hit every chute. And then we hit them with rockets from a submarine that was quite a distance away, 30 of them. Let's put it this way, they got hit. And it totally took out the nuclear capability. And I said to these guys when they came in to the office, I said, do you guys like doing this stuff? You know, they said, sir, it was the greatest day of our life. Can you believe this, Congressman? It was the great, I mean, they're like heroes. They're like American heroes. Who the hell wants to sit, you know, those ships are very big, but they're very small when you're up way high, going very fast. And he said, it was the greatest day of our life. And they told me something that I didn't know. They said that, sir, do you know, we waited 22 years for this, our predecessors and us. We would practice this run for 22 years. I didn't know that. For 22 years, we had a practice. We'd do it 3 times a year. We would practice this exact run. And then when you canceled it, because I canceled when they heard that we were coming, we were devastated. I said, see, now if I were a flyer and they canceled, I'd be extremely happy. Well, we're canceled, so let's forget it. But we were devastated. So I said, this is something you really love, right? Yes, sir. We were so honored. This was the greatest day of our life. I mean, it's really great. We just have incredible people in this country. It's an amazing story. And they hit, and then they said, skedaddle, the word skedaddle. And that plane went psh, like this. You know, when it drops a bomb, it goes down very steeply because that gives it a better angle and, you know, more speed for the bomb. Very, very heavy bombs. And they go, boom. And as soon as those things, the one pilot, the first one said, skedaddle. And that thing just turned in its side. And it's so unbelievable. And that knocked out Iran nuclear capability. And all of the Middle East became a different place. And now we have peace in the Middle East. And at the United Nations today, they approved the Board of Peace, which is I'm going to chair. and we're picking the leaders or the heads of the most important nations in the world. I think it'll be a board like no other than perhaps the McDonald's board. You have a very good board. You actually have a very good board. But nobody thought a thing like that was, this just happened today. The Board of Peace, and it's going to be comprised of myself and leaders of other very important nations and very respected nations, and it's going to be something I think is going to be very important. It was just approved. It was just endorsed by the United Nations. It was pretty great. It's a big thing. I think it's one of the most important things the United Nations will ever do, actually. But Joe Biden's prices and his hikes cost a typical American family an estimated $33,000 and hit your workers and your customers and your small businesses. Very, very hard. The Biden administration started the affordability crisis, and my administration is ending it. I'm ending it. Prices are way down. If you just look, so we don't have, as I said, the inflation, but our energy prices are way down. And, you know, despite hamburgers being a big business, energy is one business that's bigger. When you get energy down, everything else is affected. If you start bringing the price of gas, that's like a massive tax cut. And they were selling, you know, they were having gasoline at $4.75 a gallon and $4.50, $3.50, $3.75. We're going to be able, it looks like we're going to be able to hit $2 a gallon in the not too distant future. But let's say we're $2.50, $2.70. Other than places like California, that's not fair because they put so high a tax on that you're really paying a lot of that price is the tax that you're paying to government, which is horrible, actually, what they do. But the price of gasoline and the price of energy is way down. So when energy comes down, you make the donuts, you make the chicken, you make whatever you're making. Everything is all about energy. You have to deliver it. You have the trucks. You have the fuel. When energy comes down, and it's come down fast, we had an expression, drill, baby, drill. And I drilled, baby, drilled, I tell you, we drilled. And last month it was announced we produced more oil and gas than any time in the history of our country by far. And when you do that, everything comes down. You don't even have to look at the numbers. And it's all beautifully coming down. And as per your chief executive and your chairman and everybody else, they tell me the prices at McDonald's are coming down. It's moving down. Unfortunately, they were so high in the last administration that people aren't that happy because it was so high. So even though it's coming down and coming down a lot, they want to see where it was, like when I was president. And we'll be getting it very close to that number, maybe even better, depending on what we do with energy. But the energy is coming way down. In the 9 months since I took office, we've stopped inflation in the tracks since January. The core inflation has been the lowest in just about 8 years, just changed. It was 4 years, now it's 8 years. It just changed about an hour. They just said, sir, if you want, we can rewrite the speech. I said, no, I can remember it very nicely. Thank you. I'm not Biden. In the past 6 months, the price of breakfast items has fallen 14%. Bread prices are down. Dairy prices are down. And the price of eggs has declined 86% since March, and much more than that since when I took over. Because when I took over, it was an egg crisis, as we said. And I want to give a very special thanks to McDonald's for slashing prices for your most popular items, bringing back extra value meals, and I hear you're recommitting to the affordable options of Americans that we really know and love, all of the items that we love. And I hear that McDonald's is playing a very big role in that. We're getting prices down for this country, and there's no better leader or advocate than McDonald's. And I believe the next time maybe I'll have to be back here again next year if you get them down enough, okay? That's all you have to do for me is get them down enough. We'll come back. We'll come back, Mr. Chairman. But while Democrats wanted to give Americans the largest tax hike in history in July, I proudly gave you the largest tax cuts in American history and signed the one big beautiful bill. I call it the great big beautiful bill into law. That includes no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. That is a big deal. So the great big beautiful bill is the biggest piece of legislation ever passed in our country's history. It gives expensing to you as owners, where you do something, you could expense it, you can take it off in 1 year instead of 38 or 40 years. It gives you so many things. And I'm not giving it to you, I'm giving it to the people that you're hiring, because I'm giving it for jobs. You're going to expand, you're going to do tremendously. You spend money and you can write it off quickly as opposed to over a period of many, many years. The typical waiter, waitress, or police officer will take home roughly $2,000 extra each year because of just what we've done on taxes. And the tax cut bill, and I call it the tax cut bill, is also a big boost to small businesses like yours. It includes permanent expensing. And again, the biggest thing I did in my first tax cut bill, and this also expanded and extended that, was the expensing, the 100% expensing. But now we have the expensing for a 10-year period, so for 10 years. And frankly, I sort of said, let's make it 2 years because, I want the results to be immediate. 10 years, they can take their time. I had a lot of pushback, including from these guys. They said, no, the right thing. It might have been good for us politically, but it's better what we did ultimately for the country. So we have 10-year full expensing. Nobody thought that was possible to get. We also expanded tax relief for all franchisees and made the pass-through deduction permanent. It's now permanent. And very importantly, under our tax cut bill, we virtually eliminated the unfair estate tax or death tax, so you can keep your family business in the family, your children, if you love your children. If you leave your beautiful place to your children, you won't have estate tax, small business. Now, if you don't love your children, you don't really care what I'm saying right now. I've only had 2 or 3 people over the years that say, I take a vote. Does anybody in this room dislike their children where you're not leaving it to your children? And, it's always blank, blank, blank. Then all of a sudden, one guy about 6 rows back, okay. And I thought he was kidding. I said, oh, that's so funny. I'm not kidding. My kid is no good. I'm not. And I said, this is amazing. So he's not so happy with this, but it's all right. But think of it, farmers especially, where they'd have a farm, and the expression, the land rich, cash poor a little bit, but they have a great, wonderful thing and a way of life that they wouldn't change with anybody, not even a franchisee, right? They don't want a McDonald's. If they have a farm, they love their farm, just like you love what you're doing. But the farmers were dying, leaving their farm to their children. The value of the farm was high. They'd go out, they'd have a tremendous estate tax or death tax, and it would so much. I mean, the percentage is crazy how high. They'd end up losing the farm in bankruptcy. They'd go out and borrow all this money to pay the tax, the estate tax. They'd put a mortgage on the farm, and they'd end up losing the farm. Many of them committed suicide. They would commit suicide. It was such a horrible thing that was happening. And we've ended, think of that, the death tax, the estate tax on the small businesses. So I hope you're around for a long time. You don't have to think about it. But it's a great thing for your family, and it's a great thing for longevity. You treat your franchise just like a farmer treats his farm. You love it. I know you're there early, you're cleaning it, little touch of paint here or there. There's a little spot on the ceiling, drives you crazy, right? It's it's love. It's love for what you do. It's amazing the job you do too. I see it. I've been in plenty of McDonald's that clean beautifully. You must have some awfully good incentives because they are really amazing places, the job that's done. But upon taking office, I signed an order requiring that
Okay, that was a bit embarrassing. I just made the greatest speech, and you all missed it. So now you just get to hear, thank you, Mo Danger, for becoming a member. And I want to say thank you all for being members of my channel. I can't do this without you guys, so I thank you so much for your support. I really mean it. Mo Danger, tomorrow, your name will be on this list as well. Thank you so much.
That for every new regulation, 10 old job-killing regulations have to be eliminated. So if we put in a new regulation, then we get rid of 10. Otherwise, you don't get the new regulation. And, you know, we got rid of the drip, drip water. We call it the drip, drip, where drip drips out of the sink. States with tremendous water, so much water, they have nothing but problems getting rid. They had restrictions on water. It comes down from heaven, right? They had restrictions on water. So you want to wash your hands, or like me, I want to wash my hair. I lather up. Then I turn that, and there's no water. The water's drip. They call it, they put a restrictor on. I won't mention the third item in the bathroom because I always get criticized. I used to mention that, but I don't mention it anymore because you know what I think you do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you shouldn't be owning a McDonald's franchise. You wouldn't do well even with a McDonald's franchise. But no, the water restrictions totally lifted. All restrictors are gone. And you know, it's interesting. Your dishwashers were covered, right? You had no water. I was with some of the people that make them, Whirlpool and others, and they said, sir, they won't give us the water to use in our dishwashers or use in our washing machines. The washing machines have no water. I mean, it's like a glass of water, half a glass of water. We need water. And I said, how bad is it? He said, well, like the dishwasher. They put the dishes in, and they just keep pressing the button, bing. They end up using more water. So I gave them, as you know, unlimited water. Biden came back with a rigged election, and he immediately restricted the water again. But I came back in and immediately unrestricted again. So now you have unlimited water to clean your damn dishes, okay? And other things. Your hands. Didn't you hate that? You walk in to wash your hands. I'm a big hands guy. I like to wash my hands. You know, I used to hate shaking hands. Now, once you run for office, you better like shaking hands or you got a problem. You ever see a politician? No, I don't want to shake hands. Can you do that? I don't think you wouldn't be a politician very long. I actually thought that with COVID, that would be the end because, you know, they didn't want you to shake. I said, well, but then it came back a little bit slowly, then eventually. But when you're a politician, you have to shake hands. So I like washing my hands. And you'd go into the sink, new places generally, and you turn on the water, and there's literally no water. And how about the places that think they're going to save a fortune, so they spend a lot of money, where the water turns off there. You press the thing, which you hate to do, you know, your hands, you don't like to press. So you get the towel, you press it, you wash it, and the water stops. So they have both a restrictor and a stopper. You get like 4 drops of water. Tell me, do we really get rich with that? Okay, do we really? This is so ridiculous. So I undid all of that nonsense. But we did much more important for you. We've rescinded the insane Biden energy regulations on ovens, cooktops, microwaves, and ice makers that were driving your costs through the roof. You have no longer restrictions in that. I hope you understand. But I did better than that, too. In terms of slashing, we slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations, burdens on the U.S. economy, in particular on businesses and people that employ people. Combining our regulatory and tax cuts, we've reduced the effective burden on franchisees by more than 37%. You're so freaking lucky. You are so lucky. You know? These guys are so loaded, they probably don't even know what I did for them. They make so much money. They say, yeah, that's peanuts, 37%. Let me tell you, you should have suffered a little while through Kamala. The good news is she had no clue. You just wonder, I want to give an IQ test to Kamala and Biden. Who do you think wins? But they were destroying your businesses. But I have better than that, though. As you know, in my first time, I also stopped a mortal threat to the franchise business model by terminating Obama's infamous joint employer rule. Joint employer. In other words, you were screwed. You would have been mortally wounded, perhaps. I said to a couple of the people, what would have happened if that? Sir, please, I'd rather not talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. I ended it. You got lucky on that one, let me tell you, because I said, really, I asked one of my guys, because when I was coming over, I saw that in the speech. I said, what does that mean? He said, that would have been death to businesses like yours and others. It was just, these people don't care. They didn't care. But I ended it, and I think that's one of the biggest things that you'll ever have done for yourselves. I think that's the biggest thing that can ever be done for you. We mentioned all these different items, but that's the biggest by far for you. As long as I'm president, I'll always defend your right to run your own small business and do it well. And some of your small businesses have become very large business. One of the franchise owners here today is Carlos Matios Sr., who escaped communist Cuba when he was just 6 years old. In America, Carlos took jobs as newspaper delivery boy, a factory worker, and eventually became a New Jersey police officer. Then, in 1998, Carlos switched careers and moved to Virginia, where he took over his first McDonald's. Where's Carlos? Is he around here? Let me see. Come on, stand up. Stand up, and your son too. Stand up, your son. Good-looking son. I met him backstage. He had a knack for turning around poorly performing restaurants, and today his family owns nearly 60 McDonald's all along the East Coast, including at the Pentagon, where I've ordered numerous Big Macs. Right? In fact, he served when the great football team came in. They served McDonald's, and you'd have these guys walking out, the biggest human beings I've ever seen. They were the national champs, right? Remember the team? Who was the team? You remember the team? He said Clemson, that's right. And these guys, I don't know, they were, like 6'6". What do you weigh? Sir, I weigh 392. I said, but you reported it much less. Yeah, that's what they say. But and he'd have like 12, just each. And I thought he was bringing them back to the rest of the team. I said, that's nice, but maybe the team wants them. No, this is what I said, are you going to eat all of them? Yes, sir. He didn't even know what I was talking about. But you served it, and you did a great job. In 2019, when we hosted that great Clemson Tigers at the White House, I literally brought dozens of Quarter Pounders from McDonald's. We bought the whole thing. We bought the Quarter Pounder. We bought actually just about it. Well, he really had no choice, because he just took everything he had in the whole restaurant. We got whatever the hell, probably whatever didn't sell, we got, right? But Carlos is here with Carlos Jr., his son, who started as a cashier and now runs dozens of the restaurants. Congratulations, fellas. What a great family. Congratulations. So in conclusion here tonight, carry on. I'm really just keep going and inspiring that legacy and that pride that you have at really beyond almost all else. It was excellence in service, stretching back more than 7 decades to when 2 hardworking brothers with a hamburger stand in California partnered with a hard-driving entrepreneur from Illinois to revolutionize the restaurant business forever, like nobody had ever seen. Because of men and women like those in this room who have pride in your souls, love in your hearts, and ketchup in your veins. Did you ever hear that one? 70 years later, McDonald's is the #1 fast food restaurant in the entire world, and honestly, it's not even close. What a job you've done. And it still is really growing stronger, with 900 new restaurants planned in the United States in the next 2 years alone. And I think with the great big beautiful bill, you might even double that number. I can imagine you'll double that number. But it's amazing to watch you grow. You know, the the big ones, they get a little slow, they get a little fat, they get a little sloppy. This is a company that's gone just the opposite. You've gotten more and more competitive. I look at your numbers. You've gotten more and more competitive over the years, over the generations. Your spirit, generosity, and devotion to your communities has really made McDonald's a symbol of American values, aspiration, and success that's recognized all over the world. You are recognized all over the world, something that, and there's a lot of great, I mean, compared to the total, not so many, but there's a lot of great leaders, great companies. But I think more than anybody, McDonald's is recognized all over the world, and as widely as, frankly, the stars and stripes themselves. And everywhere there's a McDonald's, we see stars and stripes. Everywhere the American flag flies, you'll find the golden arches, and there you'll find good people doing honest, beautiful, hard work, and happy families sitting down to a really great meal. Because no matter who you are, everyone loves something at McDonald's. There's always something to have. I like the fish. I like it. You could do a little bit more tartar sauce, though, please. Seriously. I hate when I say, do you have any tartar sauce? Do you understand that? Yes, he understands that. Together with hardworking Americans like you, we're going to pioneer new heights of prosperity. We are doing better as a country right now, and people are seeing it. The Wall Street guys know it. The stock market hit its all-time high 48 times in a row in 9 months, 48 times during the 9-month period. And we're hitting the highest stock market we've ever had in history. All markets, all three, all markets, every one of them, has hit all brand new highs. It's a good time to be making this speech, because when you make one of these speeches, if you're doing lousy, it's not good. And you know, the stock market, you can say what you want, but it's a hell of an indicator. It's really a hell of an indicator, and your stock is doing phenomenally. But the stock market has hit an all-time high 48 times during the last 9 months. And we're going to pioneer new heights even from that. These new heights of prosperity are going to be incredible. We're looking at affordability. We're going to bring it down for everybody, because not everybody understands the fact that a great stock market is great for everybody, including 401ks. You know, the 401ks hit the highest number that they've ever been 2 days ago. And that's a lot of people. So they understand what's going on. And we're going to make the American dream two words that you didn't have. You didn't have those 2 words. Remember when Biden said, it's all about 3 words, the American dream. You don't want to ever get in that situation. Remember that? That was not good. It's all about 3 words, American dream. But possible, and you're going to make it really possible for millions and millions of people. And you have an administration that's got your back. You don't have an administration that wants to put you out of business, that wants to take away your water, that wants to have you not use a microwave oven, that wants to do all these horrible things that are going to destroy you. They were looking to destroy you and other businesses too. So together we're going to make America richer, stronger, prouder, and happier than ever before. And you people can be very, very proud of the job you've done. You're respected all over the world, and it's an honor to be with McDonald's. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
You want to see him dance? Okay. For some of the libtards that come in here, they don't understand why. Why do we show this? Why? Because we love our president. What do you guys think about Seattle? There's a picture of Seattle right there. This is the Pike Market right here on the right side. I'm going to show you that right there. Right here. Pike Market sign. I'm going to try to fit the whole thing in there so you guys can see the whole picture. If you guys want to have pictures of Seattle, let me know. I'll go and take some photos of Seattle. And to all of those of you who are members, let me know, and I can try to capture some of the cityscapes that we have here, and you guys can have these photos in high resolution, so that you guys can download it and put it as a screensaver, etc. So just let me know if you like that. Thank you guys so much for sticking around with me. I love watching and listening to President Donald Trump. There's something inspirational about this man that I like. And it's not really because, he's Donald Trump from, The Apprentice. I don't give a crap about that. He's had a rough life. He's been through a lot. And you know what's crazy is that people that have been through a lot less have given up in life, have gone completely out of business. And even though President Trump has been bankrupt a few times in his younger years, a couple decades ago, most likely more recent, but, he's gone through all these problems. I don't see the same Trump as I did in the past in the 90s, even though he was still helping people. He was the only one that was actually helping minority people, not like the other Democrats promising things and they never did anything. Of course, there's always a benefit. There always has to be a benefit. He's not Jesus Christ, and I think that's the way he lives his life. Everything that he does for us in this country, it really is technically just for him. He wants to go down as the greatest president in history. And that is one of his dreams. That is one of the goals that he has in life. And so whether he's perfect or not, it doesn't matter to me. Whether people want to call him a pedophile, whether they want to blame him and insult him and say all this, it doesn't matter. Look at the way they treat me when they come into this chat. I don't care what anybody says. I care about who can help me so that I can help them. I care about who wants to be part of my family and the circle of friends. And that's really what I look forward to. Now, I don't hate anybody else, but I will distance myself from those who hate me. And so I think President Donald Trump does the same thing. He gets his friends together. Like, I see a big benefit of helping Venezuela. I know that we're going to do something very soon in Venezuela because the Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria, from Venezuela, is actually excited about what she's seeing in the country. She knows that President Trump and the military is moving in and all this stuff. And believe me, she can see all the panic from Nicolas Maduro and his regime. So it is coming. Joe John, what do you mean my day is coming? I hope that's a good thing, not a bad thing. I hope that was a positive comment. I will take that as a positive comment. I will give you the benefit of doubt for that comment. But I feel like, Venezuelans will finally be able to go back to their country. And I think they're going to be proud to be Venezuelans again. Venezuela didn't need the United States. They were doing great. They will come and visit here legally. They didn't have to come over here legally. Which, by the way, all the criminals that are here are the ones that Nicolas Maduro sent this way to come and do his bad things for him. But the Venezuelan people that come here seeking asylum, number one, they don't know the rules. They don't know that seeking asylum means the country next door to them, not making that trail all the way to the United States of America. This is not a country that is going to be supporting the world. Not in that way. We do support the world in a way, but not in a way of allowing illegal immigrants to invade our country. Because as we have seen, unfortunately, for the many people that come in here that are actually good people, for the very few illegal criminals that come in here, everybody else pays the price. And so that's the way I look at it. I'm glad that I was able to share some videos with you today. Thank you for being with me today. Let me see if there was anything else that I had on the agenda here. Give me a second here. Oh, that's right. There was one more thing. Where did it go? I think I may have lost that video. Let's see. No. Where did you go? Somebody says, stop working so hard on YouTube. Let's see if CNN actually has the clip. Let me take a look here. Let's see. You know, you would think CNN will cover this, but apparently not. Follow the facts, says CNN. I don't think they know what that means. I just don't think they know what that means. Let's see. What else we got in here? You see, I'm looking at the CNN stuff, but I just don't want to be confusing you with what I'm doing in here. I love that beat, man. I love that beat. Let's see what Fox has. Thank you for subscribing. I get the notifications, and I appreciate you for doing that. We've actually broke 10.2. We are now, 11.2. Now we are 11.3. We are only 89,000 subscribers away, guys. 89,000 subscribers away. We're almost there. We are almost there. All right, let me see. It's not going to be on here, so. I can't believe it. I had the video ready, and I lost it. You guys probably saw it already. But why don't we look at this video of President Trump spraying cologne on the guy that all the Democrats hate that we made a deal with.
Unnecessary and torturous period of careful reflection, Liberals have been dragged kicking and screaming to the only sensible energy policy position. They have finally abandoned the economically suicidal... Sorry, I'm making myself laugh with my own line. Economically suicidal, scientifically meaningless and politically stupid pursuit of net zero, and by doing that, they have just become electable. To see the large contingent of conservative Liberals striding into the party room, led by Sarah Henderson, Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price, Andrew Hastie and Angus Taylor, is hopefully a sign of what's to come. The next Liberal Prime Minister is among that group. After the Libs' ill-considered embrace of climate alarmism and self-harm, which saw their primary vote plummet to record lows, they are again prioritising affordability and reliability over emission cuts and the fantasy of a net zero future. The Australian electorate has demonstrated again and...
Oh, I had to pause that. I didn't even hear that. I thought it was a subscriber. Thank you, Berniel, for the super chat. My bad, brother. I did not see that. I think Bernier wants me to stick around for another hour. No problem. We'll do another hour. We got this, guys. We got this. We're going to allow the libtards to come in here and have their opinion on what matters today. But before that happens, you know the rules. We got to play the dance for the new stream boss. El jefe, el patrón, the big boss. Thank you, Vernier, for that 50 super chat, brother. Appreciate it. the unofficial sponsor of this great channel that we're building up. I'm going to have to get more merch. I need some shirts. We need some sweaters. It's getting colder out here. All right, we're going to go ahead and feed some of these heathens that come into our chat. Let me take a look. One of you libtards, ask a question. How do you feel about the Epstein files? Tell me something good. Tell me that you love me. Come on. This is your moment to shine. This is your moment to shine. Sometimes I'm in a good mood to be nice to my libtards. Because one day, they will stop being libtards and they become real patriots of this country. That is the goal, my friends. We don't want any libtards in this country. We must annihilate them with love and truth and make them become patriots of this country. Make them proud of this country again. Make libtards proud of the United States of America again. Ah, yes, they love me. They say I'm the best dad ever. Absolutely. I mean, you know, everybody can change. Everybody can change. Alberto Guevara from Florida, I think he said. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Every day, bro, it's a grind. We got to fight. And this is how we say that. We say that by doing this emojis. Fight. That's our fight right there. This one right there. That's our fight. Every day we got to fight. But we got to fight with words, not with guns. That's not how we do it. That's how the libtards do it. We don't do that. Let's see. Don't be afraid. Baba Bat to fly to on the Lolita Express. Pelosi and Clinton's, both of them. Yeah, I'll see. Eric says, once you're a citizen, you are a patriot. Nah, that's not true. Some become citizens just so that they can get benefits from this country, but they have no intentions of fighting, protecting it, or respecting it, or even try to love it. So, yeah, no. A lot of people do become citizens so they can get some benefits from the United States of America, but in all reality, they're just thinking about themselves. See, a lot of times when I hear, you know, people that come from other countries, right, the first thing that they say is like, oh, you know what, bring us your weak and your weary, blah, 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 Statue of Liberty from France. Whatever. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. You guys probably don't even think this way. Now, I'm not talking about you, my patriots. You guys know exactly what we do. But I'm talking about my libtards that don't get it yet. Don't worry. Libtards, they're like a patriot inside this very thick, what do you call that? The little shell. It was in my mind and I lost it. Cocoon. Yes. Libtards are like patriots inside this very thick cocoon, and we just got to crack it open. You know, it just sometimes it can be really thick, and you just got to crack it open. But once it cracks open, they become part of us, and then we start seeing things with a little bit of better common sense and judgment instead of emotional damage that does not work in our world today. So be patient with our libtards. Let's see. Hold on. Where was Eric? Eric had a question, I think. Let me see. Eric. Once you're a citizen, okay, the Patriot. Yeah, that already said that. Okay, so here we go. I had to go look at it again so that it clicks my brain into what I was saying. So you have heard a lot of people that say the United States of America, they believe on this American dream, the pursuit of happiness. And everybody says, I want the American dream. I want the American dream. I want to get those benefits. I want to be able to get some free food and get some free health care. It's amazing. It's the land that provides, the land of prosperity, the land of the free. Well, it's not the land of the freeloaders. That's not what it means. What's up, Neil? It's not what it means. But think about this. The way that our immigration laws work is this. We are like a bride, okay? Like a bride. And, well, we need a groom that will impress us. We need a groom that's going to be, manly, self-dependent, self-reliant, very dependable. See, that groom is going to bring this sort of support, protection, and it's sort of going to help the bride, right? That's the way it works. So immigration is the same way. If you want to come to this country, you don't get to say, I want to go to the United States of America because if I work just enough, I can get food stamps and I can get free health care, and that's going to be nice just in case I get sick. So the United States of America, I think, is a great place to go. What? I can't go there legally? Oh, well, let me go ahead and go illegally. That's even worse. So here's the thing. The United States of America wants to give visas to everybody. But there is an economy. There is an inflation that happens every year. The more people come to an area, the higher the inflation goes. Look at it this way. If you have a cup and you have it to the top, right? There's just like a little bit left like this on the top. Everything else is full of water. Well, what happens when you put ice cubes in there, right? It goes to the top. If you put too much ice cubes in there, the water is going to overflow and it's just going to be wasted. That's how inflation works in countries, in cities, in states. The population is meant to grow at a certain time, at a certain speed. And prices, they got to inflate, not much, just a little bit, to keep pushing the economy forward. And if people abuse that there is a time frame for this many people to come in here, and people abuse that, it throws off the whole system. And that's how you get these high prices. That's just a one little tiny, small little teensy thing that causes inflation to go overboard. Too many people at once will always raise inflation. Too many people all at once will always create too much demand and not enough supply. It's common sense. It's common sense. So what do you tell illegal immigrants before they come here? Well, you pull a Kamala and you tell them, don't come. Don't come. Not in those exact words, of course. You got to be tougher than that. But yeah, you just say that. Don't come. The United States of America actually helps a lot of countries. Somalia, ever since they closed the USAID, Somalia's economy is going down the drain now. That means that we were supporting this country and their country. Imagine that. And then I have a lot of people that come through our channel that says they support illegal immigrants and all these other stuff. And they say, well, President Donald Trump is sending $40 billion to Argentina. What about us? Spend the money on us. And I just say, well, you're already here in the United States of America. Isn't that enough? Aren't you already more privileged than many people that want to come to this country, but they can't really come and make it? Don't you think that being here is enough for you to get a job and make a living and, do what you got to do? Now, before you go questioning why I'm doing this for a living, is because this is what I'm good at. And I hated that I had to be at work and I had to keep my mouth shut about politics and religion. I could not complain about high taxes from the government. I couldn't say anything bad about the government, and that drove me crazy. Very unhappy. Did I like the job? Absolutely. I love doing my job. It was great. especially when we were busy all day. I love it. I love staying busy. It helps me with my ADHD to stay busy. It gives me more control. It gives me a little bit more peace. I feel accomplished, and I feel like I was doing something good. And so I do like that. So when you see me on here, sometimes doing 12, 16 hours in one day, it happens. It really happens. And then you guys don't see what I'm doing in between. Yeah, sometimes I got to do some errands for the family in the house. I get it. But most of the time, I'm finding more material to share with you guys. Now, that's exactly what I look for. So I love watching videos of President Donald Trump. These videos that I've shared with you guys, I haven't listened to them. I haven't got time to actually watch everything that I search. So I am literally watching it with you for the first time, and I am criticizing it, trying to be as most common sense as possible. And thankfully, and lucky for me, you guys are all patriots. And that's exactly what I want in this channel. I want patriots that don't come here to challenge me in this way. See, I don't need people to come into my channel and try to convince me to think stupid like they do. You have to give me something amazing for me to be turned on to a debate. If you're going to sit there and spew lies and throw these fake facts that you have been fed, and I know that is not true, I don't want you to waste my time. You can waste your time, but don't waste my time. I'm going to give you an example of one thing so that you guys don't know so that you guys don't think that I'm just talking out of my ass. There was a video that the Democrats, the legacy media, kept showing on X account and other medias out there about this Mexican lady being arrested. There was a kid in there, and the husband was a big fat guy. It was the husband. But what they were trying to get her out of the car, because they were there for a warrant for her arrest, not for him. They were just there for her. When they were trying to get her out of the car, she kept fighting ICE. And she kept throwing herself on top of her husband, and their child was right in between. So what does the husband do? Hey, Robert, how are you? He starts faking a seizure. Literally, the guy starts faking a seizure. And so they come at me with this fact that ICE agents are being, too rough, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they don't care about this man having a seizure. And then it turns out that it was fake. It turns out that he was not having a seizure. And so that's the kind of thing that with people that don't look at things, with neutral eyes. Like I will look at something, damn, that's cruel. Let me see why. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, dude, that teenager, 17 years, he just got beat up. Let me see why. Why did it happen? I always question it. I see those guys that put videos out and say, oh, police brutality. And they start recording, and then they edit the video. Okay, well, that's not it. What happened? What's the rest of the video? And then the police releases their actual cam footage, and then you get to see, oh, you know what? I think the police officer waited too long to break that window. I would have grabbed him out of that car from his neck. No, not really, but that will be the feeling that you will have when somebody does so many bad things to you that will threaten your life. But yeah, I don't believe videos without seeing the whole thing. I got to be able to watch it. I got to watch it the whole thing. That's one of the reasons why I was pissed off about the January 6th video. I'm like, wait, how are they still telling the courts? How is the jury still saying that President Trump was inciting violence on January 6th? We heard him. He never mentioned anything about anybody going down there, blah, 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 to cause problems. And then now we know. The video was edited. All the videos that were public on YouTube, they're gone. There used to be hundreds of thousands of them. People kept sharing the videos, and somehow they disappear. Why is that? Very interesting, isn't it? It is very interesting. Let freedom. Let freedom ring. Free your mind. Take some TDS pills, my friend. It will make you feel a lot better. It will make you feel a lot better. What, angry patriots in here? Where did Angry Patriot go? Angry Vet. Angry Vet. I didn't know he was in here. Have you guys been blocking his comments? Because I don't see him on here. I think you're saying thank you because he's gone. I don't know what you guys are doing, man. You guys have way too much power right now. Way too much power. We got to speak the truth, man. That's what we got to do. Let's see. Stormy Daniels. Here, guys, listen. Let me read this up. Stormy Daniels said Trump has micro mushroom that smells like a what? I don't even know why I read your comment. Okay, how old are you? Let freedom ring. Are you a teenager? Are you one of those middle class? Are you in middle school? Are you supposed to even be on my channel? This is for 18 and over. Are you even supposed to be in my channel? If not, I better not find out who you are. I'll go talk to your mom. Adam is probably one of those guys that spends 24 hours in his room. And it's not his actual room. It's actually his mommy's room. But it's okay. We won't talk about him. See, there's a difference, bro, when you're actually paying to help your parents, you know. Like in our household here, we actually take care of our mom. It's not the other way around. That's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, just a little bit. Oh, it's a girl, huh? Trinity knows it's a girl. Angry Vet, thank you for your service, and we're glad you're here. Patriot, we love our veterans in service. Angry Vet, I still don't see Angry Vet. Where the hell is he? Oh, there it is. Oh, I see. All right. I'm a patriot. I love America and proudly serving the Army for 22 years. And best of all, although I'm a Puerto Rican, my loyalty is to America. Its values will still loving my heritage. Yes, exactly. That's what you're supposed to do. So thank you for your service, sir. And you're Boricua, so technically you are American. You are a citizen. So, yeah, you are American. Even though you're way the hell down in South America, you're still American, all right? We will accept you as Americans, as all Puerto Ricans are Americans, I believe. You're all citizens, so if you vote, you're an American. You are one of we the people because you can vote for changes to happen in this country. And that is how I live my life as an immigrant in this country that became an American citizen. And I am very grateful. And I am indebted with all of the Americans that fight and protect this country. And even though I didn't serve in the military here in the United States, I got to do what I can with my voice and with what I can come up with. So there goes that. I appreciate you guys for being in here. Brian, that sounds good to me. My dad had a heart attack at 14, had to take up construction full time. You know, if it wasn't for, I'm going to tell you this right now, for real. If it wasn't for the arthritis, in my tailbone, I would love to do construction. Construction is nice. You know, you stay healthy, you stay strong, you're active. I mean, it's great work. It's great physical work. I love that stuff. I can't do it no more. You know, when I was young, I used to pick up this. You guys remember the old tube TVs, the Sonys, the 36-inch Sonys? Man, it used to be like two people, to pick up the TV. I used to pick those TVs by myself, and and my brothers couldn't. And they're older than me, by the way, 10 and 13 years older than me. And, I was always the guy. I was always the guy that can pick up all the weight like Samson, right? But now I'm paying the price as I got older. It's no longer the same. I'm still strong. You don't want me to slap you. I'll tell you that right now. But I am not as agile as I used to be, I guess. I can't sprint like I used to. I probably lose balance. My muscles not all there on the legs, etc. But I still have strength. That's always been very natural on me. And I think that's part of my Indian heritage. So I love that. I'm very proud of that side. I'm proud of both sides, but still more of that side because we were warriors. And yeah, Spaniards with cannons and muskets, they couldn't beat us. That's how strong of the Indians we were. But unfortunately, we were not so bright. Once they killed our high chief leader, we all gave up, and that's how and that's how the Spaniards conquered Honduras. So there's that. All right. Any other questions from my libtards? Yeah, dude. Oh, dude. They're especially the Sonys, man. Especially the Sonys. If you never carried a Sony, bro, those things were like over 200 pounds. No joke. No joke. Puerto Rico's in the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, the Atlantic. South. Man, I saw the map. It looks like close to South America. I know it's way down south. I don't have a map in my face, but that's how I remember it. Yeah, the Atlantic. The Pacific is on the other side. Well, it's on my side over here on the West Coast. Atlantic is on the Miami side, East Coast. El Conquistadors, says Jam. He likes the Spanish story. Oh, man. All right, here. I'm going to tell you guys a little story, okay? Now, I don't know if you're going to believe this. This is just what I was told. Now, if you guys are Hispanic in here, you know the story about La Llorona, right? The widow that lost her children out in the forest. It's an old story. It's not a chupacabra. This is an old widow that is looking for her children. She's lost her children. Well, they say that this thing is true. I never really believed it, but my grandma tells me a story that one time my grandfather got on his horse, and as he was riding on the mountain, he said he felt this cold chill. It just went up to his neck, back of the head. I mean, goosebumps everywhere. And he said the horse just sat down and didn't move. My grandma says that my grandfather told her that he couldn't talk and he could barely move. So they have this belief that if you bite into lead or iron, you will be able to speak. It does something to the nervous system that I don't know what the hell it is. I don't believe it, but that's what they said. And the moment that he thought of it, he grabs his gun, puts it in his mouth, and takes a bite at the metal. At that moment, the first thing that he said was, "In the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke you and leave me alone." As soon as he says those words, the horse stands up and starts running like crazy all the way back home. How many of you believe that story? That's what my grandma told me. I don't know. That's it. That was the story time for the day. That's what I got for you guys. All right, let's go ahead and continue with this clip that we have here, guys. This is from Leftists Losing It. We can't watch the whole thing, but, we'll watch the clip.
Again, that when given a choice between lower prices or lower emissions, they opt for lower prices every time. I'm old enough to remember Scott Morrison winning the unwinnable election, what some Labor luminaries had dubbed the climate change election in 2019. And Morrison won fighting against green madness. Then he adopted net zero and the coalition lost 2 elections in landslides. The embrace of expensive intermittent power, aka renewable.
The awesome invention of wind power. Yes, this is so bad for the environment, by the way, if you guys care to know.
Renewable energy was meant to remove climate change as a political issue, but all it did was hamstring the coalition. It could hardly argue against the reckless climate policies of Labor when he had signed up to the same end goal. You're going to see the usual suspects in the media, academic and activist class rail against this decision. Against all available evidence, they're going to continue to advise the Liberals that their only chance of electoral success is to veer further left. But as we saw at the last federal election and successive state elections in Victoria, the electorate has no appetite for small L liberalism or Labor-light alternatives. Even in Victoria, the Socialist Republic of Victoria, the centre-right only wins when it clearly differentiates from Labor. We saw that with the Voice referendum 2 years ago, and the parallels with the Voice are many. If one were to draw a Venn diagram of yes voters and climate alarmists, it'd be a perfect circle. Like the Voice, the Liberals took far too long to arrive at the only logical position, and they were dragged there by their coalition partners, the Nationals. And like the Voice, they'll have to withstand a concerted, well-funded country. Now, before I go, I want to bring you a highlight of the week, an encounter that is just delicious and shows why Donald Trump is unlike any politician we've ever seen. Watch this meeting with the Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara.
This is men's fragrance.
Here's the moment we've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Pay attention, guys.
Yeah. This is it. No. It's the best fragrance. Come here, please.
I have more here, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do is just take that, Joe, put it in, and then the other one is for your wife. How many wives? You want their wife? You guys, I never know, right? I never know.
I could have sworn he sprayed the guy in the mouth with that perfume. You know what? Guys, Christmas is coming up. Some of you guys have my address. Trump's cologne, all right? That is on my Christmas list. We'll see if it really smells as good as he says. Now, just a little disclaimer. I think it's about $300 for that perfume, for that cologne. Let me see how much is running for. Does Amazon even have that cologne? Let me take a look. Let's see, Trump cologne. No, that's not Trump. All right, what somebody told me, I think somebody told me that this was in the Trump store or something. Let's see. Let me find out how much is this thing. Woo! There we go. That's the one right there. So that's the Fight cologne. Don't worry, guys. It's only $500, but you save a lot of money because it's free shipping. $500 for a cologne, guys. That is crazy, and it's not eligible for returns either. So don't be too cheap. That one's on eBay. That's why it's on eBay. Holy crap! How much is it new? Oh, here we go. Here's a cheaper one. Oh, never mind. $545, guys. $515 for the cologne and $30 for the shipping and handling. Damn. Oh man, I don't know. I think we have to go to the Trump store. Let's see. Trump store near me. All right, let's take a look at the official site here. Let me see. Oh, there's that coin. President of the United States, 100% MAGA whiskey. Oh, that's just the flask. Uh-oh, watch out. You know somebody's going to be mad about this right here. President Donald Trump on the what is that? 2024, what is it? $200 bill? Oh no, it just says 2024. You guys can see my list over there, Latinos for Trump. That's right. It's coming. It's coming. Let's see if I can find the actual Trump store. Let's see. Huh, it doesn't say. That'd be a nice portrait right behind me, right, guys? Look at that. Be a nice painting right there. Bam! All right, that's enough. All right, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. I will catch you guys tomorrow morning. Woo! I've been taking care of my wife early in the morning, so that's why I haven't been on here at 7. But I will try to get something going on for you guys as early as possible. If not, I'll see you at 8 in the morning. You guys have a wonderful night. You guys take care. Let me see. Did I have something else to give you? No, that's all I got. That's all I got for today, guys. Guys, if you've been hanging out with me this long, man, that's a long time. Thank you guys for being here with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please, God bless you. Thank you to all my members. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate you. My wife appreciates your support, and we thank you. Berniel, especially if you're still here, God bless you, brother. You're a great supporter of the channel, and we appreciate you greatly. And you guys have a wonderful evening. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.